All right, welcome everyone to the Pickens County. We got to mute a microphone. Hang on.
I kind of like the echo effect.
It's like a moment of silence every meeting. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners regular session on Wednesday, June 11th. I am Kelly McNicholas Curry, the board chair. We have in the room here Greg Poshman and Patty Clapper. Francie Jacober is joining us online, and Jeffrey Woodruff is attending one of our organizational conferences this week, and so he will be missing today's meeting, but we will fill him in. And I am very pleased to start our meeting today by reading a proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners recognizing June as Pride Month. I believe we have some folks who are here in the room who are particularly interested in this item. I'd welcome you if you'd like to come up to the board table. And so after we read, I'll read the proclamation first, and then we can come on over. And then if anyone has anything they'd like to say about it. Yeah.
I'm not
Ashley. Good to see you. Thank you. This is a proclamation of the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners recognizing June as Pride Month in Pickens County. Whereas the month of June is recognized across the nation as a time to acknowledge the contributions and accomplishments of Americans from all walks of life who identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community. And whereas Pickens County values the individual merit, talents, and entrepreneurial spirit of all its residents and recognizes the positive impact that individuals from the LGBTQ+ community have made to the region's economy, workforce, and civic life. And whereas members of the LGBTQ+ community in Pickens County are vital participants in our community, contributing as small business owners, tourism, hospitality professionals, public employees, educators, artists, and volunteers who strengthen our shared economy and quality of life. And whereas events such as Aspen Gay Ski Week have demonstrated the significant economic contributions of LGBTQ+ visitors and residents, drawing thousands of participants annually, supporting local businesses, and reinforcing Pickens County's reputation as a welcoming and vibrant destination. And whereas Pickens County supports a culture of mutual respect and personal freedom and recognizes the importance of fostering a community where every individual is encouraged to contribute to the prosperity and vitality of the region based on their skills, commitment, and contributions. And whereas Pickens County supports the dignity and equal rights of all people to live in peace and safety without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, or hatred. Now therefore, the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners does hereby recognize June 2025 as Pride Month in Pickens County and encourages all residents to acknowledge and celebrate the diverse individuals whose efforts and talents continue to help make Pickens County a thriving and dynamic place to live, work, and visit. I'm very pleased to do this and to present this to you. All right, is there anything you'd like to say?
Do you have anything?
No.
I could say a little something. Thank you for doing this. Proclamations often seem like they're sort of symbolic, and they are, but that symbolism means a lot to some people in this room and in this community. And it means a lot to stand behind your values, and it can be scary to do that. But there's some people, around us and in our community that do that every day. And so we appreciate, the broader community coming out and taking a stand and doing that with us as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Glad you came.
All right, those are always nice ways to start a work meeting. All right, on to our business. Do we have any additions or deletions to today's agenda, Mr. John Peacock?
Yes, we do. We have one addition to today's agenda. It is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County, Colorado, authorizing the chair to sign a letter of intent to financially support the resident purchase of the Aspen Basalt and Mountain Valley mobile home parks. This is a single reading resolution. I believe the board will want to take public comment And so I would suggest adding that as item 7 under individual consideration items, public hearing, one reading.
Okay.
My only
Patty,
question is, we
yep.
already have an item 7.
Well, you can,
So we do it 6.
6A.
yeah. Why don't we
How
put it?
about 7A?
Sorry.
There is.
I'm actually going to suggest maybe we move it above the liquor license applications and call it 5A.
That's fine.
Does that
I
work?
second that. Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Okay, may I please have a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Greg, thank you, Patty. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Francie, I just want to make sure you can hear us, right?
I can, and
Oh.
I said aye. Could you
Oh,
hear
great,
me?
great, thank you, wonderful. All right, let's move on to public comments. These are comments for items that are not listed on the agenda for a public hearing today. I know we have some folks who want to talk about housing. I would invite you to wait until we talk about the letter of intent, which will have a public hearing component. And so if there is any folks in the room who wish to address the board on items not listed for a hearing today, Tony, come on up. Hi.
With your permission, may I send this?
Yeah, hand out whatever. And you have 3 minutes when you start.
Great, thank you so much.
This is one page, Tony.
Yes, there's just one page, right. So before I get started, I just have 4 things really quickly that I wanted to bring forward. Is that I wanted to thank the Pickens County Commissioners for all the hard work that you've done. And I hope that whatever I may say during a meeting, that I don't want you to take it personally. It's just part of doing business, so to speak. Usually I'm pretty direct and straightforward, and sometimes that's a little hard. So the very first thing that I want to talk about, and it's the most important thing, is that, as you know, the City of Aspen is moving forward on the pre-NEPA evaluation of whether they want to do a reevaluation or go full forward with a new EIS. I've been attending a lot of meetings lately, and there's a lot of people who think that referendum to the ballot question, that it actually approved the preferred alternative in the 1998, and that's not what the ballot question states. And the purpose of me doing this is that we all have to be on the same page, and we all have to the same understanding of what the ballot question reads. And I would just like to take a little portion of it, and it says, voter approval of this measure allows the Colorado Department of Transportation to proceed with both the planning and construction of Highway 82 alignment. And then it goes on to say, under the current or any future record of decision resulting from environmental impact study. So this is not, the vote was not an affirmative action for the existing preferred alternative. In the 1998 record of decision, what the voter said is either you can go with a new record of decision or the current record of decision. So that gives us a lot of flexibility. The next thing is that the other night at Aspen City Council, there was an update on the lumberyard housing. I would encourage all of the Pickens County Commissioners to watch it. Christine Benedetti is a new city council member, and she asked the question, how many people are going to be working at the lumberyard at one time? We found out that they're building 3 buildings. Each building is the length of a city block. Each building requires 150 workers, that's 450 to 500 workers, and they all have to get at work at the same time. So, of course, those questions pop up, how they're going to get there, where they're going to stay. Recommendation that I have is down at Brush Creek Park and Ride that we stage 11 rafta buses. That's how many buses would be needed to transport the workers. The next question that Christine brought up was the lumberyard housing project and the airport redevelopment project are going to happen simultaneously. Right now, you're not working together. Pickens County Commissioners and the City of Aspen, there's no transportation construction mitigation plan or management plan. So I asked Aspen City Council, I'm asking Pickens County Commissioners if the 2 of you could get together and try to come up with a plan so that we can manage that. And then the very last thing is, yesterday you had a presentation on the Carbondale Pool. and public comment was not allowed. And it was a work session. In work sessions, you don't have to take public comment unless the chair allows it. And when you think about the time that someone like myself comes, I wanted to say in support of the funding request for the Carbondale pool, that 3 minutes for myself out of 8, you have like 540 minutes through the whole day in the meeting. And what concerns me is I wanted to give the support, and that I wanted Eric and the town manager to hear what I had to say, and if I had any questions. So we've kind of lost that communication. And then I just wanted to bring forward, and again, this is not to take it personally, but in the Pickens County's mission and value statement, it talks about open communication, and it states we are committed to listening to our citizens and partners and to giving accurate and timely information. And this is a kind of a Tony thing, but how can you listen if we're not allowed to give public comment? So that was just, I wanted to put that out there, but I definitely would support the funding request by the Carbondale Town Pool. About 20 years ago, we tried to get a new pool there, and Eric, who was here yesterday, he said, Tony, we can't do that until we pay off the bond for the rec center. One of the benefits, 2 benefits for Pickens County, one is the fact that, as you know, I'm a swim teacher and worked on this. Aspen Rec Center, Snowmass Rec Center, Basalt, Glenwood. The last team pool is Carbondale, and we don't have a pool in the Mid-Valley where the Aspen team, Carbondale team, and Glenwood can have a Mid-Valley meet. And that's really crucial when you think about the development of kids. And then the second one is that a lot of, I don't know how many, but many Pickens County employees live in Carbondale. They don't have the time and the flexibility to, if we don't have a Carbondale pool that fits everyone, then they don't have a pool that they lose that opportunity. So I just wanted to bring that
And I
forward.
think
But
that's
thanks
very
again,
timely,
and
so
keep up
appreciate
all the
it.
good
Yes.
work. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Tony.
Are there other members of the public who wish to make public comment right now? Is that Ellen? Come on up. Oh.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I too was not allowed to speak yesterday, so I came back today. And what I wanted to talk about, what's now currently called the Pilots Safety Ops Committee. I believe this is going to be just about 3 minutes. My opinion is based on 30 years of experience as a first responder, and then also 8 years as Pickens County Emergency Management Coordinator, where I was paid to put together teams to manage public safety issues. So I have a little bit of experience on that. My job was to see the big picture, and that's what I'm going to try to get across to you now, the big picture. The issue today is aviation safety relating to ASE, Aspen Airport. Safety in the air and on the ground was identified by the visioning process as the top priority, and I agree 100%. There are many causes of airplane crashes: human behavior, pilot or air traffic error, hardware, aircraft structural issues, they've been in the news, doors flying off, rotors flying off, helicopters, weather, ice, that's been in the news recently, software, 737 MAX with software. Pilots are the experts of what they do, drive the plane. And quite naturally, they see things from a pilot's view. Of course they do. However, there are other experts also vital to safety in the air and on the ground, and they have different perspectives. Be clear, I am not suggesting any non-experts be appointed to a committee. Rather, I'm suggesting a variety of experts be appointed, each one critical to safe aircraft operation. Barry Vaughn, who's a former pilot, said yesterday, describing why only pilots should be on the committee, that he said, quote, if you need an oncologist, you don't want a man on the street. I agree with Barry 100% on that. However, I think he missed the point. If you need an oncologist, the issue is cancer. Anyone who has been through cancer knows that hospitals now put teams together called patient care teams, and each cancer patient gets a team specific to them. An oncologist is just one of several people you have on your team. Others will be surgeons, radiation, chemo specialists, pharmacists, so forth. Why would you limit your expert advisors in the case of cancer, to oncologists only. Why would you leave the decision of whether to call in a surgeon, for example, up to the oncologist? Why wouldn't it be better to have a surgeon and the other people at the table from the get-go? Similarly, when the issue is aviation safety, you need a team of experts. To be sure, pilots are absolutely vital. So are other experts, such as aircraft maintenance people, air traffic controllers, etc. I believe they should be at the table, not just called in when pilots think they are needed. To summarize, these are my points. The concept of a safety ops committee is spot on, I believe, because it addresses the top priority. Number 2, do not limit a safety committee to pilots only. 3, pilots and other aviation experts are all vital to aviation safety and therefore should be on the safety committee. So, delete the word pilot from the name of the committee to reflect a broader and therefore wiser representation of the expertise of the committee. Safety Ops Committee. Just as you need more than oncologists when the issue is cancer, you need more than pilots when the issue is aviation safety. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
Are there other folks who wish to make public comment about something not listed on the agenda today? We're going to get to the housing, item number 5. Okay. Commissioner comments. Patty.
I think everybody has been noticing the increase in our activity in the community. We're gearing up. Food and Wine starts next week. And everybody is excited to see summer here. And safety, again, is a priority in the air and on the ground. But definitely, please be mindful when using the highways or the roadways on bikes or on foot or in your car. We want to keep all of our visitors, our guests, and our residents safe. But make sure you enjoy. And I know Francie felt it yesterday. The pollen is thick in the air. So everybody be prepared, drink a lot of water, keep yourself well hydrated, and enjoy.
Thank you, Patty. Any other comments?
Well, I'd love to make a comment just about the Aspen Times article yesterday. Wesley Crouch published an article about the Redstone Historical Society and that they were $25,000 from reaching their goal of for the matching grant to acquire the Osgood Cottage, which is on the main street of Redstone, a historic gem. And maybe if Patty's interested, I'll let her share the good news.
Yes, I was able, in talking with a resident, property owner up in Redstone, to secure, with a lot of support with the Board of County Commissioners and our efforts to preserve this cottage and create a place for historic preservation in the historic town of Redstone on the historic boulevard, up to $25,000 to meet that gap in funding at this point in time. And so once we get some language crafted with this very generous person, I will probably let him be part of a press release. But he's a prominent figure in that community of recent and very interested in helping the community preserve the historic nature.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you.
Francie, any commissioner comments today? Oh, you're on mute. Hang on. Try again, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I wanted to follow up on Tony's comments about the Carbondale pool. The campaign is still ongoing, so if any of you are inclined to contribute to Carbondale's efforts to complete their aquatic center, you can contribute to them through the Carbondale Town Hall. I have done so, and I think 435 people have contributed so far, but they have a ways to go. So just putting it out there that you can also contribute. Thank you.
All right,
Can I add
thanks,
another
Francie. Yes,
thing?
Greg, go ahead.
Just wanted to say I was up at North Star Nature Preserve this morning. There was no one else there. And the most beautiful great blue heron flew over and just kind of did a flyby for us. And it was sublime. So if you have a chance to go up there and just sit quietly by the river, magic happens. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. I just will have some brief comments. We're heading into summer where we need to be water wise, where we've likely already reached the peak of river flow for the summer, and it's early in the year and early in the season. And so just asking folks to be thoughtful about how you're using water, about how you are relating to fire and preparing for fire risk as well, both around your homes and as you behave out in the backcountry. Some things to keep in mind, and also just want to give some great shout outs to all the folks working hard to provide all the recreational opportunities for all of our little ones. I am doing a lot of running around with little ones to lots of recreational things and summer camps, and there's so many things we are lucky to choose from, and so many programs that people put together on real kind of shoestring budgets to help our families, with the child care gap when schools are out. They're great programs, I know, and I'm just grateful to both our municipal rec departments and all of the private programs that are out there running camps. I hope everyone stays safe with all that. All right, so with that, let's move on to the consent agenda. We have several items here. We have our minutes of our May 27 special meeting as the Board of Social Services and our May 28th regular meeting. We have a resolution amending a resolution appointing the chair and vice chair commissioner representatives to various boards. A resolution on the assessor's recommendation of an abatement petition over $10,000 for Beddington LLC, also for Alpha Family Apsom LLC, and for Frederick Burke Jr. Do board members wish to pull any of these items for discussion from the consent agenda?
Thanks.
Greg?
I would just say I wanted to pull the board appointments only because there are a couple things that we should discuss in there. Nothing particularly, no big changes, but just a couple things for clarification. The rest I'm fine with.
Okay. Any other items for board members that they wish to discuss? Otherwise, I will accept a motion for the items 1, 3, 4, and 5 on our
So
consent
moved.
agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Greg, thank you, Patty. Any further conversation on those? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then we will pull item 2 to discuss and vote on separately. Greg, what would you
Got
like
it.
to bring up?
I just noticed Jeffrey, who's not here, expressed an interest in doing more with CC4CA, and I was under the impression that he would love to be an appointee to that. I'm listed, and Kelly, you're listed. He's there right now, and neither of us are. I think they're having their meeting right now. And so we can't all be there. Are you comfortable staying on? I'm happy to stay with it, but
I'm happy to have him replace me as alternate, but he's not here.
he's not here. Okay, well, we can offer it to him when he comes back. I don't know. What do you suggest?
Patty?
I can comment on that in talking with Jeffrey because of all the efforts in his first couple of months here being on the board with us. I keep trying to remind him that he's got a couple years ahead, so he might want to pace himself. But he really enjoys the connections, the information, and I know that he would be more than happy to actually have an official position rather than just be an alternate. So I think that he would be very grateful and thankful for that recognition and of his time and effort.
Well, in that case, I'd be happy to let him become the main squeeze for CC4CA, and I will become the alternate.
Okay, and then that was not the initial reason we brought this forward today. The reason was to also formally appoint Francie and Greg to the Transportation Coalition for the 21st
Right, there was
Century.
that. Oh, that too.
Which I think is properly listed, so we can amend this to reflect that
Right.
change in appointment for CC4CA. And I also would note it looks like just a bit of a spelling error in our now therefore be it resolved item 1. There's just a couple letters thrown in there that I think have to get deleted. Yes, okay, great.
And then I had one more comment just
Yes.
on the Opioid Settlement Governance Committee. If they've ever had a meeting, I've never attended it. And so I'm just wondering, I'm happy to keep my name there, but I haven't done a very good job of doing nothing because nothing seems to be happening. But I'm happy to stay there. You can keep me on. It's just I want to make sure people understood that there's really nothing going on there that I know of.
Yeah, I think we should keep you there. I think my understanding from Steve was that the work of the committee maybe had resolved, but the committee itself was still
Still there, in
appointed.
case they need us.
This might be something to clarify with Board of Health.
Got it. I know, you think I could do that. I'll talk to the chair.
I know him really well. I'll give you his credentials.
Okay, thank you. I'm good with
Charlotte,
the rest of it.
anything else you want to add?
I
We
think
we covered it?
I'll make that change.
Okay, so we have
Thanks,
just
Charlotte.
the two changes to this resolution, please. Is there a motion to approve the amended resolution on our appointments?
So moved.
Second.
Greg, thank you. Patty, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Charlotte.
All right, so now we're moving on to individual consideration items. These, we have several for public hearing. These are one reads, and we amended the agenda to add a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners authorizing the chair to sign a letter of intent to financially support the resident purchases of the Aspen, Basalt, and Mountain Valley mobile home parks. I will invite our staff to come up and present this to us. Thank you, Ashley. And then this will be a public hearing, and some members of the public will have an opportunity to comment after we receive staff presentation. Hi.
Hi, great to be here. Good afternoon. I'm Ashley Pearl, Resiliency and Housing Director for Picken County, and I am pleased to present two pieces of paper for a walk-in on the agenda. One is as the chair read, a letter of intent, and the other is the resolution that supports the chair in signing that letter of intent. To give just a little bit of background, I think many of us are aware in the public and otherwise of the two mobile home parks that are for sale. It's the Aspen Basalt Mobile Home Park, which is located in unincorporated Eagle County, and the Mountain Valley Mobile Home Park, which is located in unincorporated Garfield County, just outside of Carbondale. They both were put on the market for sale in March. There was an offer put in by an unknown potential buyer in April. And thank you to some of the legislation we have in Colorado that does offer some protections to mobile home park tenants. I think we would argue that maybe they're not enough, but at least we have some. So that law allows tenants currently living in a mobile home park that is up for sale 120 days to put in an offer that is competitive with the offer that's on the table. And if they are successful, they acquire the park, and then they become what's known as a ROC, a resident-owned community, which means in addition to owning their actual mobile home, there's a collective that owns the land underneath. This is an incredible way for us to take what are traditionally temporary, but we don't look at them as temporary housing situations because you don't get to build capital in a mobile home park if you live there, and change it into what can be an intergenerational wealth generator as well as long-term community sustainable housing. So a ROC model is tried and true across the country. There's an organization called Thistle ROC, Thistle Resident-Owned Community, that comes in and helps these residents organize and find the money. And so Thistle has contacted a host of communities among all the communities in the Valley. And thank you to April Long from the West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition, who's been getting us all together to figure out what our role is as governments. We were told that our role as governments is to come in with cash. What Thistle can do is they can come in with a loan, but they can't loan the residents all of the money that's needed. They need actual cold hard cash to make some of the funding stack, and then they'll loan the rest of the money on top of that. So we collectively, as a set of governments, set a goal of raising $10 million in cash to support these two mobile home parks and becoming ROC communities. The board has kind of mulled this over for a little bit, as have many other communities in the Valley. And I have before you a commitment letter that would say we are interested and able to commit $3 million as a grant. This is not a loan, it's just giving money to Thistle so that Thistle can negotiate on behalf of the residents to hopefully purchase these two parks and turn them into permanently deed-restricted affordable housing that's owned by the residents. So that's very exciting. If this goes through, these letters of intent will go to Thistle Rock. They will then negotiate, and they look to put in an offer fairly soon that's competitive. If it is accepted, they'll actually ask us for the money at that point. I'll be back with some more formal resolutions and whatnot for us to write the check. But right now, this is just telling Thistle that we're in to support this, and this is our amount that we think we can commit to. And before I turn it over, I will say we're joined by many other communities in the Valley, which is really exciting. The city of Aspen signed a letter of intent last night for an equal amount, a $3 million letter of intent. Town of Basalt met last night and discussed a $500,000 donation. And there's some others that I can't name their amounts yet because they haven't gone public, but Town of Snowmass is in the mix. Eagle County's in the mix. Town of Carbondale. I'm forgetting a couple. Thank you. City of Glenwood Springs. We've been talking to Garfield County, and there's some private members' donations. Hopefully you all saw the newspaper article last week that Atlantic Aviation has committed $1 million and is running a fundraising campaign right now for additional private funds to come in. So we're joined by many great partners, all trying to make this funding stack work on behalf of really critical workforce in our community. The goal of our organization as Pickens County with our new property tax is to create 250 new units in the next 10 years. I think the board and staff recognize that if we let these units go, which is 100 and April? 39, thank you. We put ourselves back quite a bit in our goal to create new units. So we all know how hard it is to create new housing units, and this is an opportunity to preserve units so that anything we build is additional to what we already have and not trying to make up for the loss of really special, unique housing that serves really valuable folks for our community. So that's what's in front of you today, and I believe you have a lot of folks who would like to weigh in on it.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there any questions from the board before we open for public comment?
Well, I do have comment, but I'd love to hear from the public first.
Can I ask, just to
Yes,
tee
Greg.
this up, there are a lot of questions like the deed restrictions will be placed on the homes, I assume. And all these entities are gonna have to agree to that. And I understand we have time to figure all that out. So we're getting the funding stack together, we're making the offer, so we'll be competitive, but then there'll be some details to work out. Do we have an idea how long that'll take, or, you know, how's progress on that going?
So you are correct. Every entity who has signed a letter of intent has stipulated that some sort of permanent deed restriction be placed either on the units or on the property. I think that's a big detail we all have to figure out. The focus right now has been to, within that 120-day limit, to assist the residents in putting in an offer. I think that there's a lot that we're still kind of crossing our fingers and hoping that goes through. If that goes through, we have quite a bit of time to work with Thistle to figure it all out after that. So I don't have exact timeline, but you're right. There's still a lot of details, and we have time. What we don't have time for is to get to Thistle how much cash we can all bring to the table, because once they know that number, they have to go and they have to create their whole loan profile and figure all those details out, and then put in this offer with enough time under the gun. So that's the real time constraint right now.
Got it, great. And I also just wanted to add that this is an opportunity for the private sector, employers, for all the people, all the various businesses. I think there are 40 plus at least businesses that hire people who live there. This is an opportunity for everyone to step up. And I think I'm grateful that we're able to step out in front along with the city and Basalt and all the others. So let's see some private sector people come forward. Thank you.
Great, it's great. Thank you.
All right, I'd love to open it up for public comment. Priya, would you like to come up? And I'm sorry, we actually, we don't have translation services.
Oh, that's okay.
And so I apologize
talk
if
for
there are
everybody.
folks. Okay, thank you.
If everyone, they want to come up and join you.
All right, got a whole group.
No, it's okay. Aquí se pueden quedar para. Aquí están bien. Okay. Well, my name is Maria Romero, and I am here on behalf of 64 families that live at Mountain Valley Mobile Home Park. And I'm so happy to hear all these new, that's a relief. That's a relief. It's very, very good news, good news. But I'll just tell you a little bit about our park there. As I said, it's 64 homes. There's 260 people that live there, 65 kids. And out of all those people that live there, there's 90% of them that come to work in Aspen. As you can see, I told them that they could come in their lunch hour, and so you can see them. So yeah, and we're here to ask you for the funding that we all needed. We desperately wanted to stay there in our homes. The people that come up to work here is, they have the hard jobs: construction, gardening, cleaning windows, restaurants, all the hard jobs, so, and it's 90% of our community there. So that's really great. The 65 kids, they attend the Carbondale schools. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about a couple kids that came to me as we were trying to raise funds. We've done yard sales, we've done raffles, we've sold tacos, because we wanted to work. There's two little girls that came up to me and asked, what's going to happen to our homes? Do we have to leave? Because they hear their parents talking. And they came to me, on their own. What can we do to help? Two little girls. What can we do to help? My heart broke. And I was like, we need to work harder. We need to work harder for them, and that's why we're here. They suggested they would sell lemonade, and they did at our taco sale to raise funds. I think they raised a total of $27. But it's $27 more than what we had. So we're very thankful for these news. Our rent right now is $1,000. Working with Thistle is going to go to $1,600. But with the funding, it's going to go lower. It's going to go much lower. So that I'm thankful again. And thank you so much for listening to us and for taking the time. And I just want to thank whoever donates the money. We are going to be able to keep our homes. That's great. We're happy. So, ¿alguien que quiera decir algo? No? Oh.
Thank you all for
They
coming.
said I said everything. So
Good.
anyway, thank you.
I'm so grateful you're here.
I was just going to say, when you come again, when we're celebrating,
Yes,
bring those girls.
I will.
And
Oh,
those
I will.
tacos.
The talk of the lemonade. Yeah.
Yes, I will. I will bring them.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're gonna do
appreciate
this.
you.
Thank you. We are. Thank you so much.
How exciting is that?
All right, she got me.
Anyone else?
Okay, top that, people.
Come on up. Yeah. Alan, come on up. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Ellen Anderson, I've lived in Aspen Village since 1978, before it was a mobile home. I am totally blindsided by this agenda item. There's no packet. In fact, I stepped out of the room to see if there was some sort of packet. This is heartbreaking, because we've been through it in Aspen Village, and we were the pioneers. We subdivided in 1996 without one single penny from Picken County. My heart goes out to everybody who's in this situation, because I've been there, done that, and really, it's just I'm speechless, and I'm also blindsided. I wish I'd had more time to discuss this with the board in Aspen Village, because we're looking at a $6 million project to redo our wastewater, and we're trying to find a way to pay for that ourselves, $6 million. So it's a moral dilemma. From what I understand, you're considering granting, not loaning, $3 million outside of Picken County. And I think one of the basic issues is, what are your moral obligations to take care of Picken County residents who have needs in relationship to people outside of Picken County? And I think that having this just one reading without the opportunity for people in my neighborhood to get educated and get together and discuss it, and I empathize, I truly empathize, but I'm totally blindsided by the fact I just heard about this and it's one reading. Would you consider having this 2 readings so other people, so we can see an agenda packet and get educated, and have other people who are in former mobile homes come and comment Because we have been there, done that, and without subsidies, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, why is this such an, I mean, maybe it is an emergency, but this is not, the public has not had a chance to get educated on this and have intelligent, informed public comments.
Thank you, Ellen. As you know, we don't respond to dialogue in public comment sessions, so we'll continue to hold that question and open it up for discussion with the board. Thank you.
Again, I have all empathy, all sympathy. It breaks my heart. I've been there, but I also pay taxes in Pickton County,
Thank you.
and we have a need. Thank you.
All right, is there any other public comment on this item? All right, I'll bring it back to discussion with the board. Patty?
Well, I live in the first trailer court that was actually subdivided in Pickens County. And we did a capital improvement project, which we paid for ourselves. We were able to get a loan through Community Bank, and we paid it off on a monthly basis, or whoever could afford to pay it off quarterly or all at one time. So there's some things that we had to take responsibility for ourselves. I also, that being said, I'm very happy to have been living there almost 40 years now, and we were able to subdivide our properties and own them and house them, and it's a great neighborhood in the middle of downtown Aspen, Colorado. It's very fun over there. And it gets better every time I turn around. We have new people moving in with babies and hardworking people and people who help their next door neighbors, and it's a great little community within a community. On another note, I spent time with Prosperity Now in both Washington, D.C. and at their conferences elsewhere around the country. They introduced Pickens County to the Thistle program. They're big supporters of I'm Home Now, and it's about preserving mobile home parks across the country from being bought up by private entities and redeveloped into casinos in Florida or retirement communities across the country, and literally without any moment's notice throwing out the people who live there and taking their homes away from them. So I'm very connected to the effort that we have ongoing here. And I'm going to now look into when their Prosperity Now next conference is, because maybe I want to go back and visit with them and see what else we might be able to do for preserving mobile home parks within our community, within our valley. This is critical, I think, for the worker employment housing, employee housing. We, as was said by Ashley, that we have a goal that we're trying to meet, and this, if we were not going to step up to this, we would be losing traction on trying to maintain, not the goal, the priority is not to necessarily build new housing, but maintain housing that exists or buy down deed restrictions, and I am really supportive of that effort. I think it makes better sense than building new big projects that cost a lot of money in today's market. And we don't know where that's going to go in the near future. So I'm very supportive of doing this, and I think what's before us today is a first step in further discussions as to how we're going to manage this issue if it moves forward to fruition and they're able to purchase these parks. There'll be a lot more public comment and interest, I'm sure, generated as to how the funds are being used and what the end goal is. And I look forward to that with our community. So again, this is coming about quickly because of the time frame of the 120 days. We have deadlines. Thank God that the state did do legislation allowing people more than, some places it was 24 hours notice that your house was going to be gone tomorrow. And that's devastating families and communities across the country. And the last thing we wanted to have that happen within our local neighborhood, our valley. So I think this is a good first step, and hopefully we'll be able to follow it through and keep these families in their homes. A really quick side note is my granddaughter actually was babysat in the mobile home park in Carbondale. I don't know the family's name because we called her Abuela, because she became my granddaughter's grandmother. I'm the Grammy, and I was willing to share because it was a wonderful family, a great experience for my granddaughter. We became close friends with her daughter, who still lives in the valley with her children. We see them with my daughter's family on a couple times a year. We'll do dinner or something together. So it's beyond their own little community. The people who live in these parks spread a lot of joy and hard work throughout our community. And I think it's really worth the effort to try and keep these families here.
Thanks, Patty. Greg?
Thanks. Just want to say I agree with everything Patty said. This is something that's had to happen very quickly. We do have a dedicated fund specifically for helping acquire housing, not to repair infrastructure. We've had several requests from neighborhoods around the valley that all have worthwhile requests for infrastructure help. And there's probably a lot more in requests than we could help with. We don't have a dedicated fund for that, but we are going to take the biggest bite out of the housing problem we can. And this is a huge step in the right direction. And so, as Patty points out, this is the bang for the buck, the best way to get some housing that we can guarantee will be available to our employees going forward. And as it was pointed out by the people that were here, 90% of them work in our community. Whether they're in Pitkin County or not might not be material to the demand for jobs for the people who take care of our entire community. As we know, don't always live in Pitkin County, but I think we have an obligation to help them, and I think we're doing I'm just excited to be part of all this. That's all I have to say, other than let's keep it going. But we know about the infrastructure issues at Aspen Village and other places as well, and yes, they're on our minds, and solutions have come forward, and perhaps something will emerge. Thanks.
Thank you. Francie, any comments?
No, I just want to thank Greg and Patty for what they said. They said everything I would have said. Thank you.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone who lended support, but mostly the Pitkin County voters who supported the property tax mill levy for dedicated affordable housing funding source, because without that, this would have been a much harder contemplation for us to pull monies to dedicate to preserving these mobile home parks. This is the second allocation we have made from that fund since it's been created. The first was to the Good Deeds program, which is helping owners purchase homes in the valley and buy down a deed restriction and permanently deed restrict housing that also currently exists. And then this will be the second from that fund. The creation of the fund allows for a lot of different opportunities relative to affordable housing, creation of new housing, preservation of housing, capital reserves. I hope Aspen Village participated in the capital reserves effort that APSHA has going on, where we are doing very in-depth research on the capital reserves needs throughout the affordable housing inventory in Aspen and Pitkin County, and will provide us with quite a lot of information to discuss how we may allocate some of this funding for capital reserve needs in the inventory, because preserving housing that we have is one of the utmost goals for the program, and one of the utmost goals that we as a board set forth when we created the ballot language for this new fund. And so there's a variety of opportunities to, I think, maintain our commitment to affordable housing in our community and throughout the valley. So I'm very supportive of this. I would note, there are $10 million of stated public commitments at this point for funding the $42 million purchase price. The goal, I think, is 20. And so, this is really an opportunity for the broader community to help match what's been made publicly at this point. And I really hope that this is an opportunity for a coming together of all the variety of sectors, public and private, here to make this happen and to really support the folks who are making our community hum every day and doing, as Maria said, some of the very hardest and most unseen work to support us all and support this thriving place that we call home. And so let's get there, and we have to get there quickly, because the law only allows 120 days for the residents to put together an offer. Their clock started, I think, April 6th or 9th. So they're looking at August. And we all know how busy summer is. And we all know how many things there are to distract us. But as much chatter, as much, as we can all put in, I think would be really helpful. There are efforts underway for figuring out how to get big and small donations funneled to this campaign. And, I look forward to making my own personal donation as well this summer. Patty.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Thanks, Kelly. And in light of the contribution that we received, this effort received from Atlantic Aviation, that I think starts the clock for local private donations from small businesses or large businesses to help this effort. And I want to thank Atlantic for stepping up to the plate on that. And I know that they do have their internal fundraising effort going on to try and bump up that $1 million. So anybody who's interested, give us a call, and we'll help you spend your money wisely.
Yes. Very, very worthwhile cause. Okay, with that,
Hey, Kelly?
yes,
Can I
right.
make just one point of clarification,
sir.
and I think maybe John will add to it potentially. I just wanted to point out that this is a significant step towards contributing to this project, but there are other steps to follow for this board. So members of the public or anybody else that's concerned about it, the effect of this resolution is to approve the letter of intent that's in front of you right now. As drafted in this resolution, there's other steps that the board will need to take with respect to these dollars, whether that's to appropriate the funds or approve a future agreement or deed restrictions. And John can maybe talk about what those processes look like. But this is not the last time, nor is it the last time the public will have an opportunity to make a comment about this particular issue. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood what the effect of this resolution is.
So we would have at least two
Well, I did see
public
John
hearings.
earlier probably to say
on
a
this.
similar thing, but
That's correct.
he can probably more clearly articulate what the next steps would be to get these dollars in front of these folks, so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jen.
that's correct. And so the first is going to be there will have to be an appropriation process. And so that will provide an opportunity. That will be a 2-reading process with opportunity for public comment. The resolution and letter of intent are written very purposefully to note that that appropriation process has to take place before the monies can be distributed. Additionally, it is very likely that in the form of a deed restriction, there will be a property interest that is coming back to this board in return for the contribution of the $10 million that would also have to be approved by this body, as well as looking at any formal agreements between the other public entities. So there's a lot of work. What this is doing is showing this board's intent in a formal way to participate at the level that you're indicating so that Thistle Rock can put an offer together and get into due diligence. And Rye, thank you. You did see me trying to jump in maybe
Thank
a little
you.
too quick earlier.
I know I flagged that in my brain and didn't say anything, but I appreciate you guys providing that further clarification. All right, more to come. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
And I will second that motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
I'm going to give this to Ellen, Ellen?
All right. Okay, moving on to our individual consideration items with the Board of County Commissioners acting as the Pickens County Local Licensing Authority. These are also public hearings and 1 readings, and I will invite staff Sam Engen to come up and summarize for us what we're hearing today. Thank you.
Hi, Sam Ingen. I'm your liquor licensing liquor licensing administrator for the county. I'm here today with 2 different special event liquor license permits. The first one is with the Buddy program. Allie Welsh is here on behalf of the Buddy program. They have applied for a special events liquor license to sell on July 5th from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Merry-Go Ranch. This has been an event that they have held for several years, and we've had no complaints received on that event. Proper noticing has been put in the Aspen Daily News, as well as on the property. The complete application with all attachments were enclosed in the packet for your review. And I have Allie here to just kind of elaborate a little bit more on this event. But the action we're looking for you to take as the local licensing authority is to approve this application so we can release this permit for them to display during the alcohol service.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you all. Yeah, this is our 26th annual Bash for the Buddies event. It's been held up at the Merry-Go Ranch for many, many years, most of those years, not all of them. We have our tickets and tables are on sale to the public at buddyprogram.org, and this is an event that raises over 1/3 of our annual operating budget, so it is a big deal for us, and we're really grateful to have the support of the community and all of our loyal patrons who come back year after year to support our 4 youth mentoring programs.
Any questions? Yep. Pat?
So I think if I remember from all the past years, we also allow you the opportunity to put out to the public through grassroots how they can participate in this event and the website information. So if you would like to.
Thank you. Yes. We still have tickets available. They can be purchased at buddyprogram.org. And we're also looking for volunteers, which is a great opportunity to get involved. So again, at buddyprogram.org, you can find all of that information. We also, take donations for people who can't be there in person. We do some donation soliciting as well. We have some honorees this year, some of our board members that we're honoring. Really grateful to them, and they're getting kind of their crew involved in there. But yes, we would love to see everybody there, either as a patron or a volunteer. It would be amazing as well.
Question?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming. Good to see you again.
Great to
This
see
is
you
kind of fun every time you come back. We know we're going to approve this. It's a
So
great
fun.
event. Could you talk a little bit about the volunteers you're looking for are for the event or to become big buddies, and what does this actually mean?
Yes, thank you. Both. We are always actively recruiting Big Buddy volunteers. Of course, that is a different commitment. We ask for a 1-year commitment for an adult volunteer to be matched with a youth, and that's because of the consistency of how important that consistency is for our youth. And then as far as volunteers go, yes, we're looking for event volunteers to help with setup and breakdown and running ice and power cords and whatever it is. We build that event really from the ground up, so it's a lot of moving pieces. It's a all hands on deck kind of event. So yes, we have our event managers sort of coordinating all of the volunteers and plugging them in where needed. But yeah.
Great. Sounds like a great way to get involved with the community.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
And
you.
can I add, how do people volunteer? Is there the same website? Or?
Yep, same website, buddyprogram.org, and there's a specific event and fundraising page for the bash and for all of our other events in the summer, and you'll see links there to be able to volunteer for the events. If people are interested in becoming big buddies, there's also on our website, buddyprogram.org, there is a button there to submit an inquiry there, and we can keep talking too. So,
Great,
yes,
thank you.
Great. Just the last thing, how many people have been involved in this over the years? How many big buddies are there?
So usually
How many little buddies are there? Were there? Have there been?
How many buddies?
So we're currently working with about 600 youth, families, and volunteers from Aspen to Glenwood Springs. We expanded all of our programs and services to Glenwood Springs 2 years ago. So we're in that community now as well. We also have some of our outdoor leadership programs in Rifle as well. So we are truly valley-wide now, which is great. And we have a few in our one-on-one mentoring program where we match an adult with a youth in the community. It's usually close to about 100 a year of those matches, but we have 3 other programs in addition to that, group mentoring and school-based mentoring. So in total, we serve about 600 youth and families and volunteers.
Well, I just wanted to say, on behalf of the board here, I'd like to offer for us to become big buddies for the Garfield County Commissioners.
Yes.
Now that they're part of the program.
Speak for yourself.
I know.
I've already picked up one of them.
They could
I
use
don't
some
need the other
mentoring.
two.
You know, that's all.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
Thank
We'll
you.
let Greg deliver that
Yeah.
invitation. All right, this is a public hearing, so I will open up the public hearing for any members of the public who wish to comment on the special event permit for the Buddy Program fundraiser.
Wait, I have a procedural. Did we need to convene as the liquor licensing board?
I called us.
I think she did
Yeah.
have a
Okay.
meeting as that.
I said we were acting as the Picken County
Oh,
local.
so
board.
we're already in. We're there. We're it.
I was so excited
Guys
to
are in charge of liquor now.
When's the sampling?
All right.
the things they'll put us in charge of, right, on a good day.
It's 4 p.m. somewhere.
Always good to check.
So let's check online and see if anyone wishes to comment on this liquor license application. I've been negligent about checking our online attendees. Okay, I will close the public hearing for this special event liquor permit. Is there discussion, questions, or
I will
motion?
make a motion to approve a special events liquor license application for the Aspen Buddy Program, or just for the Buddy Program.
Thanks, Patty. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Oh,
Okay.
you-
Greg, go ahead. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Nice to
Thanks.
see you.
Appreciate it.
All
Have
right,
fun.
and similarly, we will hear an application for a special event liquor permit submitted by Aspen Public Radio.
And we have staff from Aspen Adventures, who's the event coordination here as well. Hi. So again, this is another special events liquor license application seeking a permit for an event on June 21st from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. up at Smuggler Mine. It's a little different. They typically host this as a private event the last several years. It did trigger a need for a special event liquor license this year just due to putting it out to, I guess, a curated list of invitees to attend with a donation for purchase of a ticket. So that's why it's coming in front of you all to review and approve the application. And I'll let them discuss that a little bit more with you, but same concept, application and required materials were enclosed. This was noticed in the Aspen Daily News as well as on the property. And all fees have been collected for this application. So I'll let Madeline and Breezy talk a little bit about the event.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited to bring back the Saturday night of food and wine event at Smuggler Mine. It wasn't our event before last year, but and now with 3 events being available to put on up at Smuggler Mine, we were really happy to lean forward and do a culinary forward, really curated event with mine tours and a really experiential evening during food and wine. And of course, we wanted to partner with a nonprofit. And so we sat down with Breeze a long time ago and kind of conceptualized this. And we have, live cooking. We have a ton of chefs come up and beverage forward. And then we have projectors in the mine doing the history of the mine, some historical photos, a really curated crowd. And we're really excited to be back year 2. And we want to make sure everything's above the board. So we wanted to come here and get the official liquor permit associated with it as well.
All right, questions?
I have a
Patty, then Greg.
I have a question. I noticed on one of the documents, the Aspen Skiing Company. So can you just clarify the connection?
I think
Yeah.
that was on the lease. The land lease? Is that what that was?
Well,
You
so
just have to say that you're SkiCo. Yeah. So I work for Aspen Ventures, which is one of the.
So it's now under the umbrella of the Aspen Skiing Company.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's the
Yeah,
clarification.
so we're just producing the event alongside with Global Fire, Taste Network, who do a lot of the culinary aspect, and then Aspen Public Radio. It's a sort of
I
a
just
group.
saw that on the document, the mailing address was the skiing company, and I'm like, how did their name get, but now I
Yes.
understand. That was, because I know that they have been taking many entities under their umbrella, and you are one of them. Thank you.
My question was just, you've mentioned curated a couple of times, and that kind of gives me a funny feeling when you talk about a curated list of invitees. Is that like Studio 54, where if you don't wear the right thing, you get booted out? Or what does this mean?
No, Greg, it means more like there's not posters up. You can't buy a ticket to this event. It is an invite-only event. And we are raising awareness and funds to support the rebuild of the tower on Smuggler Mountain, which is visible from the mine. And so we went back and forth, and we could probably qualify as a private event because there's not public ticket sales, but we just really wanted to do due diligence and secure the license. But you can't just go buy a ticket. You can make a donation to Aspen Public Radio, and just like a water bottle or a book or a throw towel will gift you a ticket to this event. So it's been a really valuable way for us to raise funds and awareness for that tower rebuild. And so we're using that language to say it went out to those who have contributed to the radio station at that level or above in the past. It went out to a curated list of Aspen Collection adjacent individuals that might be interested in philanthropically supporting something like the public radio station in town. And so different than other things we do where there's posters and newspaper ads and spots on the air, none of that applies here. This isn't that public transactional type of opportunity. It's more about philanthropically recognizing that the costs are being covered by the ski company, by the sponsors, and we have the good fortune of being partnered with them to utilize this as an opportunity to give tickets to this really cool event as a way to raise money.
Anybody who donates could potentially get a ticket if they wanted one.
That's right, at $500 or above.
Okay, so there's a $500 limit. All right. Okay, so
$500 floor.
And the ununiform sale of tickets with these donations, through the donations, is why it's now triggering the need for a special events liquor permit, because they haven't done that in the past.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Thanks for
So
explaining.
I want to give them a warning, a heads up. I live right down below the mine, and if it smells too good, I may be coming up.
How about we just invite you to come, Patty? We love all the commissioners to come, in part because, as John and Rye know, we're deeply engaged with the county about that tower.
I'm gonna cut this conversation off in the course of a liquor license hearing, but
Thank you. Good idea.
Come hang out with us.
thanks. Okay. All right, other questions on the permit request? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to comment on this request for a liquor license permit? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. And sorry if that came across rudely, I just don't want any indications of you offering tickets and we're talking about your hearing and, you know.
I didn't say I
no
was going to
thanks.
get a ticket. I just was going to show
So,
up.
there you go. All right. Is there any questions, discussion, or motion to approve?
I just want to say I have a long history with the Smuggler Mine. I was very close friends with an owner of the mine for a long time, and then my wife was involved in helping create the Wine at the Mine events that happened with Food and Wine years ago, which I think are the genesis. This is genesis for that, and it's great to see such an amazing historic asset being used and participating for our. There's a cultural part of that that's just so cool, a historical part that. So I'm glad that you're able to use it and that we're not actually pulling toxic metals out of the ground any longer.
Is that a motion to approve the special events liquor permit?
I'll make the motion to
Okay.
approve.
I will second.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you.
And I just want to shout out to Aspen Public Radio for defending funding rights of public radio from the federal government. I'm with you.
That's my next meeting.
Yeah.
Have a great day, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to adjourn us as the Picken County, or maybe, do I need a motion to adjourn the Picken County Local Liquor License Authority? Motion to
second.
adjourn, second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. How are folks doing? Does anyone need a break, or are we ready for first readings?
Just keep hammering through this.
Keep hammering? All right. We are going to discuss our resolution approving second quarter budget supplemental requests. The next 7 items are all first readings and will be set for public hearing on June the 25th. And we have Budget Director Connie Baker. I will say, as you all know, I had to leave a little early yesterday, but I did hear the recommendation from John Peacock that we pull consideration of the Healthy Rivers and Streams Whitewater Park request to allow for additional presentation about that park and discussion about the use of the park fee.
Can I ask
wanna-
a
Yes,
clarifying
go ahead.
question? Would you like to pull the entire appropriation request or just the contribution from the park dedication fees?
Maybe let's get to it and
Okay.
discuss, but I wanted to flag that. I wasn't thinking about them being two separate things, so we'll walk through that at that time when we get to it in the packet. Thanks, Connie, for flagging that.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. The board had a lengthy meeting yesterday as we went through 21 different supplemental requests for second quarter. And staff was here to answer questions and present their requests. As we were going through, it always strikes me as I see different areas of the county presenting requests that have a similar theme, even for very different projects. I just thought I'd mention to the board, there were a couple requests that had to do with unfunded mandates. We talked about that with the jail project and what was the other one? Now I've got to find my list.
Oh, the locates.
Oh, yes, Road and Bridge, the 811 locating service. A couple of the requests had to do with federal funding cuts, where the county is stepping in to support in a few areas. The seniors community-supported agriculture program is one of those, as well as the seasonal backcountry community response officers. We saw a number of capital requests that have to do with cost increases or unforeseen circumstances that are increasing the scope of projects. And then, of course, we have the airport redevelopment, which is a large theme this year. So for me, it's just always interesting to try to categorize a little bit when we have so many requests. The total impact of these requests would increase the county's budgeted expenditures by $19,061,410 and decrease revenues, by $26,650,707. That would be a net decrease increase. This is confusing because we've got the transit sales and use tax fund, so I'll have to figure out my language there. The total request would equal about $50 million, which is the largest supplemental we've brought before the board. However, we are also adjusting how we're accounting for pass-through transit sales tax, and that reduces both revenue and expenditure budgets by almost $31 million. So we get this blended supplemental, which looks a little odd in the ending numbers. So I'm going to leave that for the moment. If the board is okay with it, I will go through and review briefly each request, and then would you like to stop me when we get to Healthy Rivers or others where the board has questions? Okay.
Why don't we just do a brief check-in after each one and Well, make
Okay,
sure.
sounds good.
I think we'll move through this quickly.
So in the general fund, the sheriff's office, there's a Colorado Parks and Wildlife bear grant, and they're using that primarily for bear-proof trash cans. It's $104,500, net zero impact to the general fund. There's the addition of 2 seasonal backcountry community response officers in the sheriff's office. That's a one-time request for 2025, about $98,000. A housing needs assessment, about $41,000. This is a joint project with City of Aspen and Town of Snowmass Village. Then in the capital fund, an increase to the deed restricted housing program of $900,000, as the $800,000 already appropriated this year has been used up at this point, and other employees are queuing up for potentially using these funds. The sheriff evidence room fire system, a dry suppression fire system, an increase in scope of the project with an additional $90,000. The jail remodel is $2.5 million. In the road and bridge fund, $19,000 for the new 811 software. In the healthy community fund, a grant of $50,000 to support the older adults community supported agriculture program. Open Space and Trails has a request to increase the funding by $309,000 for the Rio Grande and Crystal Trails as they're doing their repaving projects. In the risk fund, an increase of $200,000 for property and casualty insurance premiums. The library fund has an excuse me, a request for a part-time library assistant. This would be a 2-year term limit, and they are providing outreach and support in Redstone and Snowmass Village for library patrons. That's $38,500. Then a contribution from the Park Dedication Fees Fund to the Redstone Historical Society for the purchase of the building for the museum. And now we're at Healthy Rivers and Streams. Their first request is the Whitewater Park streamside improvements. The request is for an appropriation of $1,750,000 from the Healthy Rivers Fund. They were hoping to support this funding with $500,000 from the park dedication fees. And Lisa, if you'd like to come up too, just in case there are questions for you. I know the board has questions and maybe hasn't decided on all of the uses of the remaining park dedication fees. And so we could pull the park dedication fees funding out of this request for the time being and come back with that later and move forward with the appropriation, or I don't know if the board was wanting to pull the entire request.
All right, we'll discuss both of those. There's 2 requests on the table that may require amendment to this resolution on first reading. The first is whether we want to approve the Healthy Rivers program spending $1.75 million on the remaining scope of the Whitewater Park in Basalt, and the second is if we want to reimburse that fund through a transfer from park dedication fees. So let's talk about both of those. Greg, or
Right.
let's maybe focus on the first one, and then we can go roundtable about.
I definitely
whatever.
want to. I definitely want to allocate the funding for this, approve the funding for this. We've been working on this Whitewater Park for several years. It's been teed up wonderfully. To me, it's also a tribute to John Ely, who got the ball rolling. And I want to see it finished and dedicated with his name somewhere associated. And I want to get this done. So I think we should keep moving it forward. And if you want me to stop there, I will, or I'll go out and make a proposal regarding the rest of it.
Let's just stop there first. So,
Okay.
So Greg wants to direct the appropriation to complete the park, and then we'll figure out exactly which funds that gets paid out of. Patty?
I want to complete the park. wanted it completed since we first started it. So I think we need to get it done.
Even more than I did.
Yeah, we need to get it done.
Okay. Francie?
Thumbs up from Francie.
Oh, we're talking about the
Yes,
appropriation.
I know exactly where you are. Thank you. I want to support it, and for completing the project for the first part of this. Yes.
Okay. All right, so I think we have direction to approve the appropriation for the
What do you
program to continue. I think it sounds like a lot of money for finishing the park, but I'm happy to go along with
Cup of coffee is
what
10
all of
bucks
you
also.
have directed.
Yeah,
So.
got it. Okay.
Okay, and then the second question is whether to refund the Healthy Rivers program with some portion from the park dedication fee fund. Great. Well, let's
Okay.
just go in the same order.
Same order? Okay, I think, yes, we should be putting the most of that money toward the park, for the Whitewater Park. I think that's appropriate, because it is a park, and it's going to be a public entity, and we've put so much toward it, and worked on this for so long. I'm fine with it, but I was going to propose we carve out $100,000 to put toward the Carbondale pool for discussion purposes, and put 400, and Healthy Rivers can backfill that 100 next year. Does that work? Does that work?
It does. I just want to ask a little clarification of, I guess one thing to think about is, do we want to appropriate all the remaining money in the parks fund? Because it will leave, I think, us $30,000 or whatever.
30,000.
Or just clean out the fund, which is an impact fee, folks should know, an exaction fee that we've collected and held for these purposes.
I could
So-
revise that to propose we clean it out and carve out $100,000 for the Carbondale pool contribution.
Okay. Patty?
I think it deserves separate further discussion when we have a full board at the table. I am not comfortable with $100,000 at this time. It is an exaction fee to mitigate for impacts to Pitkin County. And I think using that much money outside of Pitkin County, even though I support the pool, I think it's a great amenity. I grew up with the plunge, and where I grew up, that's where I learned to swim and play. I just think it deserves a broader discussion before we move it. So I would be comfortable with moving forward construct the $1.75 million, and then pulling the 500 for now and bringing it back for further discussion as to, again, all of the other uses within our community that are coming forward now who know we have this park's impact fee fund. And I think that deserves a little more discussion with the full board at the table.
Thank you, Patty. Francie?
I support Greg's recommendation. I think it's a reasonable solution to the pulls and pushes in terms of spending the park funds. I think it's a good idea to finish spending them, and hopefully we'll have another situation where we can have a dedicated fund. But I like the idea of the $100,000 going to the Carbondale pool, helping our neighbors and helping people throughout the valley have another pool and aquatic center, and giving the rest to the Healthy Rivers and Streams. I do think the price tag for finishing this is really high, and I would love to see it finished with Healthy Rivers and Streams funds without going into the park funds, but it seems to be the direction we're going, so I will go along with what Greg recommended.
Okay, thank you. I have a procedural question, and I'll go back to you, Patty. This budget supplemental doesn't have any language in it relative to the Carbondale pool contribution. What is the process for approving any amount for that from the park fee?
I could add that to second reading if the board moves today to include that.
Is that okay?
That is okay.
Thank you. Okay, Patty, go ahead.
Yeah, this we no longer have a park dedication fee, so there will be no fund to replenish in the future. This is it, and I know that we have other entities again within Pitkin County, and I think Jeffrey was pretty insistent, and I think it would be in the best interest for us to I'm not saying I don't want to fund something to the Carbondale pool, but I think it deserves a broader discussion, so I'm asking the board if we can continue it, the park's dedication money, to a broader discussion when we're all here at the table.
I'd leave that to the chair. My feeling is we've discussed this long enough and we've had presentations enough. It's been demonstrated that a lot of people who use that pool are workers and residents of Pickens County. It is a fund that's going to go away. We don't have, we're not replenishing it, but that's one of the issues. We had it forever and we never spent the money from it. So let's put the money to use. I think this is an opportunity to cooperate with Garfield and Carbondale, and since we're going to be mentoring them as part of the buddy program, we can demonstrate best practices and encourage them to pony up and help us out, help us help them. So I just soon get it done. I don't want to think about it again, personally. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll decide here. I support the direction that Greg and Francie have articulated. You know, again, for me, I actually would probably give less to the Healthy Rivers program. Not that I don't love you or love the goals, but you have a dedicated fund for this type of work, which we don't have for many other types of programs or similarly situated requests that might come to us. So I will compromise in that way to support the direction that Greg and Francie have articulated with backfilling the Healthy Rivers project with the remaining
431,000
after we make a $100,000 contribution for the Carbondale pool. Patty.
I'm going to try again. I just want to remind the board that yesterday's discussion, we said we wanted to hear from Garfield County and what Garfield County was pitching in for the pool. We have not had that opportunity to do so or to even approach them. And now we're going to make a decision based on what I heard yesterday was we want to see Garfield County at the table. So we're now blowing that off. And I think that if we, you know, the fact that Jeffrey had a different opinion and he's not here, and I think he would want to be part of this discussion, in which direction I think we should honor the missing commissioner at the table and not make not make this final decision until we have the full board here to discuss it.
Can I?
Yes, go ahead.
I appreciate that, and thank you for reminding us of that challenge to Garfield County. I'm not going to change my stance other than if my feeling about commissioners who don't come to our meetings. It's like, as they say, if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. And he's not here today by his own choice, and he's off doing things that are more important to him, perhaps to everyone. But if we wait around for everybody to be at the table all the time, I would just see our work get done, and it's also an incentive to show up where it's most important to you.
I want to remind you that he's at that meeting because the person who's appointed to that committee was not going to go. So he's representing Pickens County there.
That's true. The only response I have to that would be that it didn't rise to a level of importance enough to attend in person for 3 days. Thanks.
And I mean, I'll just say, I don't think that the opinion of three of us relative to the $100,000 may change significantly after that conversation. And if, you know, I'll just say, I'm not hanging my hat on Garfield County's contribution to the pool. And some of that is because, you know, I don't know if they have a park exaction fee. Maybe they do, and if they do, they should spend it on the Carbondale pool. Like, we have a park exaction fee. And so we have funds that are specifically designated for these relative purposes. So I don't equate, like, not all money is the same. You know, general fund contributions are not the same as funds from dedicated sources. And so I feel pretty justified in our contribution, regardless of what other bodies and jurisdictions may choose or not choose to do. I'd love to see them participate. I think they should.
You can encourage them.
You know, but that's how I feel comfortable making this commitment for that
Okay,
project.
then, if the
Sorry.
board chooses to go in that direction, which I see 3 of you going in, I will remind you that the next time one of you chooses not to be at a meeting and we have a major decision, we may well choose to go forward with it without your presence. And it's not fun when you come back into a room and you had something that you were really concerned about and the rest of your board chose to move ahead without your part of this discussion. But I understand. And I wish I could win you over, and I'm not going to, so I'll give up on this one, and I'll let the taxpayers know that the people that have contacted me, even though it's not a tax, it was an exaction fee to mitigate impacts in Pickens County from a project in Pickens County, and it makes it a little different than other funds and fees that we use outside of Pickens County, so.
Kelly, may I ask a
Yes, right.
question? When's second reading?
On the 25th.
Is Jeffrey going to be available on
No,
second reading?
Francie and I won't be here.
So procedurally, I just wanted to point out that if you don't include the pool as part of today's first reading, and then you choose to include it during second reading, you'll essentially have to have a third reading on the ordinance because it'll constitute a substantial amendment to Connie's ordinance. So if you bring it forward today and add it and approve it, you can still remove it in the future. But if you don't bring it forward today and you add it in the future, you will then have to schedule a follow-up reading to finally adopt the ordinance. So I just wanted to make that point of clarification for you all.
Okay.
And on the 25th, Francie and I will not be here because we've made a decision to go to Washington,
You guys
D.C.
cancel each
instead.
other out.
Okay. And, it will give Jeffrey the opportunity to, perhaps if we sleep on this and decide that we want to give your proposal further airtime, we still have the chance to do that.
Talk about it all summer. Let's go.
Okay. I know these are tricky, and I appreciate you all having this dialogue. I think we've given our direction to bring this forward to second reading. There could be an opportunity to remove it at that time if we wish to have further
With the
discussion.
100,000 going to the pool and the remainder going to healthy rivers and streams.
431,000
And change.
and
And,
change.
we don't have a lot of facilities in the Crystal River Valley, so I do think this is a benefit to the Pickens County residents that live there.
You need
All
a
right.
motion?
I
with
think
it?
as Connie
Well, no,
has-
because we have
so-
further discussion on the budget supplemental
Oh.
before we get to the
Connie,
end
do you
of
have
it.
clarification that the two items are separate from each other, meaning that should the commissioners
Yeah.
decide to pull the $100,000 for second reading, it doesn't mean that the Healthy River contribution is gonna get pulled on second reading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gave direction from 4 of us that the appropriation should move forward, and direction from 3 of us that the contribution to the Healthy Rivers Fund from the Parks Fund will be the 400 and change, and Connie will add the $100,000 contribution for the Carbon Hill Pool. So it's, I think, 3 actions there. Okay,
So I have another procedural question.
please.
So when it comes to moving this budget supplemental forward, can we separate it? Because I don't want to stall the rest of the budget supplemental request, but I cannot support this change, so.
Well, that's why I was trying to make the clarification that if you added it and approved the ordinance as drafted today to include the 3 separate items, one being the Healthy Rivers budget, which was already in the budgeting for the
Park
park,
condition.
which was already in the ordinance, and then the inclusion of a portion of the dollars, 400,000 and change, I believe, for the Healthy Rivers project from the park dedication fund, and then added the 100K for the pool as part of the appropriation and ordinance, you would be able to treat those all separately for the purpose of adopting an ordinance on second reading,
Which I won't be here.
which you won't be here. Now, I guess that's the clarification I was trying to make.
Thank you. So either don't approve this today, because I don't want to approve 100,000 for the pool at this time. Not to say that I wouldn't after we vet this out as a full board, but, okay, it's a decision that's up to me.
And, and I would encourage you to, when we get to that point, you're welcome to make your statement.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's keep moving through the remaining supplemental items.
Okay, please. The next request is again from Healthy Rivers Fund, and the board has made a commitment to use Healthy Rivers for $1 million to the Shoshone Permanency Project, but that will be appropriated over a 4-year time period, gradually building up that appropriation. So it's done little by little with $300,000 in the first 3 years and $100,000 in the 4th year.
Can I point of clarification?
Yes.
And that's also dependent upon the Shoshone project moving forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
I just want to point out that's a project that Healthy Rivers is wholeheartedly behind, as are we. Although it's in another county, on another river outside our watershed, but it's important, and we realize the importance of participating in this. And as has been pointed out, it may not happen. You know, if things don't go their way, we may not be spending that money, but we are committed as of now, and I'm eager to see it go forward.
Kelly, can I?
Thank you. Yes, Patty.
Yeah, and Greg's statement about it being outside of Pickens County, there are potential for damage or putting at risk some issues in rivers within our county, and that's why I'm supporting Shoshone, because we have been very clear that we want to make sure there is no injury as part of Shoshone going forward, that there's no injury to the Upper Roaring Fork.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. Then the next.
Thank you, Lisa.
Lisa. Then the next request is the Transit Sales and Use Tax Fund. I've already mentioned that we have the accounting change to remove the pass-through transit sales tax from this fund, account for it in a, help me with the wording, Liz. Custodial, thank you.
Yes, you got it.
We changed the name of those funds, custodial fund. So it's still the same tax, still going for the same purposes, but since it is money that the county doesn't really have any control over anyway, it's going through the custodial fund. We're reducing our budget by $30,855,000, both on the revenue and the expenditure side in this fund.
Kelly?
Yes, Patty.
I appreciate this for many reasons. First of all, because it makes sense. But secondly, so that the taxpayers who see their tax bill think that we have all this money, not realizing we have dedicated funds throughout the county's portfolio of funds. And this will help to clarify that, because it significantly reduces our budget. They really come out of Pickens County because of this transit tax. So I think that'll help maybe alleviate some of the questions we get every year about why is my tax bill so high, trying to explain that so much of the tax dollars that you see go to special districts or to other purposes. So thank you.
All right. Okay. Then, last but not least, we have the airport fund, and they have 4 regular supplemental requests and then 2 special requests. There's the leadership transition contract, up to $240,000 for Dan's continuing support throughout the year. Training modules for airport badging, an addition of $76,000, and those are bilingual modules. The airport terminal boiler replacement, $225,000, and additional security camera installation, an addition of $50,000. Then we move, if there are no other commissioner questions or comments, we'll move to the airport redevelopment project. And these are some significant funding increases, as the board knows, and the board has spent time in other meetings going through all of the project details. But the first request is $38,295,744 for design of airport development. And this includes 3 different phases of airport development: terminal, runway, and is that taxiway?
Associated.
Yeah. This will not all be spent in 2025, but we need the appropriation in place to be able to move forward with contracting in a timely manner to move forward the project within the timeline. And then the request for 6 new FTEs to support the airport project. 2 of those FTEs would be paid directly out of the airport fund and 4 paid out of the general fund, with the portion of their time that is spent on the airport being reimbursed by the airport the subsequent year through the cost allocation plan. The total appropriation for half a year for those positions is about $529,000. That's between the 2 funds. Again, most of that will be reimbursed to the general fund by the airport, but 1 year following. And the positions, just for the public's sake, there's at the airport a senior contract administrator, 3 positions in the finance department, a grant specialist, senior internal auditor, and a budget analyst. Within community development, a lead plan reviewer, plans examiner, and then in the manager's office under community relations, a strategic communications specialist or public information officer, and that position would be charged entirely to the airport. Does the board have additional questions on any of these requests?
So I just want to, when we have the unassigned general fund total for the $376,000, this is to support positions and staff necessities for positions that will provide support for other projects outside of the airport. Is that how we should think about that?
They're primarily for the airport, and in John's project, he gave estimates on the time the grant special.
But this portion is for time not spent on the airport.
No, this is the total general fund cost for those positions. So this unassigned general fund of $376,000 does not show what portion would be reimbursed by the airport the following year.
Okay.
That reimbursement would be around maybe $235,000.
Okay.
It will depend on actual time spent, but a significant portion will come back to the general fund from the airport fund next year.
Okay.
This 376 is the full cost of the 4 general fund positions for the remainder of 2025.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and that's because cost allocations happen after the year when you can go back and track the record, and then that's why that money comes when it's actually known the amount of those dollars. So, and that could come from landfill or other enterprise funds or any other department that actually happened to use one of these positions for any time, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I have that comment. I have another broader comment.
Go ahead.
Or do you want to wait till public comment and then I'll come back?
There's no public comment. This is a first reading.
Oh, okay. That's right. It is. And I should have known that. I think it's important for people to know that we are appropriating these, if we move this forward, we will be appropriating these monies because we need to get things moving. We need to be prepared for contracts, for hiring. It's my understanding, the intention is not to run out and hire all these new positions until we see that they are needed or there's an impending need for positions, trying to plan ahead for how we can move this enormous project at the airport forward, which is going to take some time to get the whatever opportunities we have for federal dollars, state dollars, to come in and assist the community to get the airport done and to fulfill the vision of this community and the voter support for getting this done. So I think it's just important to know so that people understand that we're not rushing ahead and spending these dollars and this money without a plan in mind as to the time frame. So thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Any further discussion on the budget supplemental requests? All right, I'm not seeing any. If there's not further discussion, may I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I will second. Any further discussion?
Francie's
I
got
have
her
a
hand.
question.
Yes, Francie.
So we're approving the entire supplemental budget now with,
I should notice, as amended.
and remind me of how the amendment goes, Rye?
Sure, I think maybe though that Connie probably has a better track of where the amendment lies right now.
Yeah, the change is that there will be an addition of $31,695 to the total appropriated. That is because the board has recommended using the full balance of the park dedication fees, but we will change where that was allocated to, with $431,695 going to Healthy Rivers and $100,000 to the Carbondale Pool donation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I'm going to say
Any-
aye with a comment that I'm moving it forward because I support everything except I really wish we would have further discussion on the Carbondale Pool and a broader concept of other opportunities and entities within our county that may be looking for fees out of our park dedicated fund. But I don't want to stand in the way of progress for those other entities that are in need of being able to move forward.
Thank you, Patty. All right, so we will hear this on second reading on June 25th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, we're moving on to a resolution of the BoCC approving a contract amendment number 5 with the State of Colorado Department of Human Services Behavioral Health Administration for funding for the Pitkin area co-responder teams. I think we have some folks here. Come on up. Hi.
We didn't get new water bottles? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, I like that dress. That's pretty.
Just so you
Welcome.
guys know, the video is frozen in your room.
Oh, the video is frozen. Is that something? Grassroots or IT?
Oh, Zoom's probably freezing.
It doesn't look like
It's
grassroots?
Zoom.
Okay. Do you want to minimize that
The sound is
window?
fine.
Oop. I know.
Now I froze Francie too.
I feel like we had this yesterday, and then Michaela switched from that computer to your computer, her computer, and then it was fine.
Zoom update has been crashing and auto updates on, so that's just kind of a.
Oh, I'm glad we got a new program that doesn't work.
Oh, Zoom. Zoom needs a competitor.
So we try to be consistent in that.
Hey, it's the county.
All right, Grassroots, why don't we take a
We heard that.
1 minute break, please?
We heard that.
Folks at home don't need that. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Pitkin County Board of County Commissioners regular meeting on Wednesday, June 11th. We are talking about approving a contract amendment for funding the Pitkin area co-responder teams, one of our favorite programs.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
thank
you
you.
so much for having us. I'm Jenny Constable. I'm the Programs Education.
Ooh, yep, red light on for microphones, please.
Okay, I'll start over.
All right.
Pardon? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I'm Jenny Constable, Programs, Education, and Partnerships Manager for Pitkin County Public Health. I work with Raleigh Buckrock, who is the PACT Program Administrator. She's on PTO right now, so I'm here today to talk about this resolution. And I have with me several members of our team, Daniel Hess, who is our peer specialist, and Hans Lettgring with Health Solutions West, who is our mental health provider for the PACT program, and Braulio Jerez, Human Services Officer for Aspen PD. So we are here for a reading to continue accepting a grant from the Behavioral Health Administration. It is their co-responder grant program in support of the Pitkin Area Co-Responder Teams, or PACT program. PACT pairs a mental health clinician with our 3 law enforcement agencies to respond to calls where mental health or substance use challenges might exist in our community. PACT works with some of our most vulnerable community members, working to keep them out of crisis and connect them with services, including health care and supports for general daily living. PACT was first funded by the Co-Responder Grant Program, this same one, under what was then the Office of Behavioral Health in state fiscal year 2018, and has continued annually thereafter. This year's funding amount is $400,000, which would help continue to support the program, specifically a majority of the PACT administrator's position and 2 full-time members of the PACT team, 1 co-response clinician and 1 case manager. Our co-response clinician was hoping to be here but is on a call, and our Dan is funded by another grant that I'll touch on later. Additionally, it also provides funding for training, travel, and client support. Some other kind of general updates about the grant PACT program. Our CDPHE harm reduction grant, which started in 2020, ends for us at the end of state fiscal year 25, so wraps up this month. The recent grant application cycle was very competitive, with more applicants and fewer awards available than when we applied 5 years ago. This grant had supported a second co-responder clinician position and the case manager. The case manager has now been moved into this BHA funding for state fiscal year 26, and we are still seeking other funding for the second clinician position. Kind of a side note is that the overall funding landscape that we're seeing for co-responder programs is changing a bit, and we have been able to fully fund this program with grants since 2017. Our peer support specialist, which is Dan's position, is now funded by a DOJ grant called Connect and Protect. This was awarded to us in September of 2024, and it's a 3-year grant to mostly support this peer position, as well as some data and evaluation work. The DOJ just lifted a hold on our grants budget, which now allows us to spend down the rest of year 1. We've seen many delays related to this grant, but at this time, we've received guidance to continue to implement the program. In recent news, last week was the 5th Annual National Co-Responder Conference, which was held in Atlanta, Georgia, and we had 10 local attendees, including myself, Dan, and Braulio. So at this time, I will turn it over to Dan to tell you a little bit about his position.
My name is Daniel Hess. I'm the peer support professional with the Pitkin Area Co-Responder Teams. First and foremost, we are a team. Braulio being our Human Services Officer, and all other law enforcement officers that respond with our co-responder clinician, Kat Bush, are invaluable to what we do. I get referrals from them to mostly people that are reluctant to talk to police, medical professionals, or other mental health care workers. I myself, being a peer support professional, is a person that has experienced a serious mental health condition or substance use condition, or a combination of the two. I have a bipolar 1 diagnosis. I was medevaced from Iraq in 2009 and had no clue what was going on. Unfortunately, it's not a very good place to be in a combat zone. I was on my 4 months into my second tour in Iraq when this happened to me. We use a trauma-informed approach so that we treat everyone with dignity and respect. I myself didn't tell anyone except my own closest family members and very few friends for 13 years that I had this diagnosis because of stigma. My own psychiatrist told me not to because he said it would preclude me from some employment. And I told very few friends. So it was living with a condition, a serious mental health condition. A lot of people also have what's called self-stigma. They think of themselves as lesser of a human being, as not whole. And being in the position that I am lucky to share my story with people that are experiencing similar, very difficult things that I've experienced. It's wonderful seeing people open up once I've shared my story with them. Our ultimate goal is to help them get treatment that they need, get them to higher care if they wish, and attain recovery. We work with the wonderful case manager, Jeremy. He is amazing at finding resources for people, whether it's housing, helping them obtain gainful employment in the Valley, and also getting them the health care they desperately need, whether it's through Medicaid or Medicare, working as a team, and the amazing things that we do to help our unhoused community, the elderly population, those with serious mental health conditions, and those experiencing substance use conditions. In conclusion, I'm just more than happy to be here, a part of this team, and to help the people that need it most. If I had to summarize what we do is myself having suffered for 13 years and not told my story and living in silence. I take my job very seriously, and in one phrase, I would say we are here so those people do not have to suffer in silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate your vulnerability and your service in the military. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your service in so many ways.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to follow that up with.
I was thinking, how do you follow up
you don't, yeah.
Dan's story?
Well, you're all a team. You all have different roles, so you're welcome to illustrate what your role is, if you'd like, in the team.
Yeah, I'm the internal champion for the PACT team, formerly Mind Springs, and now Health Solutions West. And so part of my job is to support Kat and Dan and Jeremy and Braulio to a lesser extent. It's just such an easy program with such a massive impact to support and get behind. And I can promise you that it's massively important to us as an organization to partner with Pickens County. So
Great, thank you.
that's it.
Braulio, anything to add?
Can you hear me? Yeah. All I can say is that Dan has been a great addition, as well as Jeremy, in the last year. We've had different iterations of case managers and peers over the years since the program's inception, and it's always hard to find the right people for this type of work. And Dan and Jeremy have hit it outside the park, working with these individuals on a daily basis and referring them to all the clientele that we interact with on a daily basis has been just outstanding. They are able to connect with folks in a way that me in a uniform really I struggle with at times. I mean, my sense of humor and my charm usually gets things working in the right direction, but yeah, you still need that support. And Dan, Jeremy, Kat, the whole PAC team, as you know, I've been in front of you guys for several years now, and I've been here since 2019, and I can't say enough about how the program works and what we provide to this community.
Yeah, thank you. Questions? Yes, go ahead, Patty.
I think you will know now how the Board of County Commissioners feels about this program. We think it's awesome. The work that is done is amazing and so needed and so necessary. And if we can help unfreeze the Department of Justice, just let us know.
Thank you.
I just speak briefly about how important they are, all of them. Not probably. No, seriously.
Because he's with the city.
It's such an important program, and they're all.
Oh, red light.
Get on the mic there.
They're all important. It's, it seems like during the daytime, Braulio and PAC deals with those in need, and then at nighttime, it kind of seems to shuffle over to the sheriff's office. I'm not asking for more PAC right now, but that's on the horizon because we do need a 7-day-a-week coverage, and I'm not really here to talk about that right now. I just want to let you guys know, for those online, that they're amazing. It's such a great program. It's proven its worth for sure, and I thank you, and thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And speaking of that second clinician position, we do have several applications out, hoping to get funding for that so that we can go back to 7-day-a-week coverage with the clinician that corresponds with law enforcement. Raleigh has been amazing at helping identify opportunities and really going after those. So we hope that that may come in the near future. And then I'm trying to think if there was more to bring in. I think at this time we are looking for the BoCC to approve this resolution for a second reading and public hearing on June 25th if there are, but of course, bring any questions you might have.
Any questions or discussion, or I'll look for a motion, please.
I would be.
I'll take a motion.
All right, Francie, and then a second by Patty. Any further discussion?
Thank you, guys.
Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. And I apologize. The last thing is that we do have our 2024 data reports and summaries. So hopefully we'll be bringing those to the second reading for
That
you.
would be great. We'd love it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item number 5, an ordinance of the BoCC authorizing an amendment to the Roaring Fork Transit Authority interim trail easement. I believe we have some open space and trails folks. Hi there.
Hi, Kelly. I am.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Dale Will, the Director of Acquisitions for Open Space and Trails. And this item is in a way, it's a housekeeping item with the arrangement we have with RAFTA on the Rio Grande Trail. The quick version of the history on this is that when the Denver and Rio Grande Aspen branch stopped running into Aspen, they gave the right-of-way from Aspen to Woody Creek to the county and pulled up the rails, and it became the first official trail of the county, although without any kind of county department other than Road and Bridge to take care of it. But as time went on, the railroad decided they were going to stop running trains even as far as Woody Creek and shut down the entire Aspen branch, and there was a big scramble to acquire that right-of-way. In retrospect, it was quite a coup because the value of that right-of-way, which varies from 100 to 200 feet wide all the way from Woody Creek down to Glenwood, the value as an enhancement to all the parcels along the way was greater than the value at that point as a railroad right-of-way. And so the valley governments got together and acquired it, really thinking it would be a transit option for the valley, and there was a lot of talk about light rail. The open space program contributed funds to that acquisition back in 1997, and what we acquired was this interim trail easement. It was dubbed an interim easement because when the purchase was concluded, the belief was that by 2020 the light rail would be installed, and we would be able to permanently locate the trail somewhere other than the railroad grade itself. 2020 came and went, and none of that happened. And meanwhile, the raft attorneys that work on the rails to trail status of the corridor concluded that they really needed to simply extend that interim nature of the easement in order to maintain the theoretical viability of the corridor for renewed rail use if that should become desired in the future. So we kind of blew past our deadline. Here we are 5 years kind of late doing something, but fortunately both RAFTA and the county are committed to this trail, and we've been kind of skating along. But what's in front of you is supported by the Open Space and Trails Board unanimously to simply change the date for the interim easement to become something else to 2050. We'll see if there's any light rail installed by 2050, and if not, then I'm guessing that someone will be in here talking about extending this interim easement again. So it's pretty simple. We're gonna take the easement and let it continue to float until 2050. By float, I mean it can stay. The trail can stay where it is, but we all agree that if they need the grade itself back for rail use, that we'll find a different spot within that 100 to 200 foot wide strip to put the trail.
Questions for Dale? Yeah.
Well,
Greg.
it occurs to me Rye may still be here. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. Let's see who's going to be. Maybe.
I was just thinking about that. Maybe not.
No, I think that's quite possible.
He'll still be here.
Maybe I'll be like Patty on my sixth
That's
term.
right. Yeah, go for be a lifer.
I tell you.
Okay, I don't see any questions. This is a first reading. This will come back for public hearing. Thanks to RAFTA, our ongoing partner. Is there a motion to approve?
I'd make a motion.
You have a question?
Making a motion to approve, just the comment that it's good, if for nothing else, to help remind the public that this was rail banking originally, and then it served such a great purpose as a bike and pedestrian path over the years. People forget that there's a right-of-way for the rail there. And RAFTA spends a lot of time each year. I'm on the committee that reviews the audits, the trail. We send, who is it? Not Tom Dunlock. Tom Newland goes out every year and looks at all the right-of-way, the trespasses, the various issues, and reports back to us. And RAFTA vigorously maintains the right-of-way all the way to Glenwood Springs. And it's good to remind people of that because, someday that corridor may be needed for transportation of some sort, probably hovercraft. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you. And did I make a motion?
You
I'll
did.
make a
There's
motion.
not a second, however. Patty will second. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. 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 Thanks, Dale.
Thank
You here
you.
for the next one? Oh, we got other open space folks here. Moving on to item number 10, a resolution of the BoCC approving and authorizing the chair to sign a grant agreement with the State Historical Fund for the historic Emma Town site traffic study. Hello.
I've got a map.
Love it.
I know. Always prepared. My name is Paul Holsinger. I'm the Agriculture and Conservation Easement Manager for Pickens County Open Space and Trails. And
Red light on.
My name's Nick Smith. I'm an analyst for Human Services, and I've been working on this project.
Great, thank you.
Adobe Acrobat is thinking here. Sorry. One second. Sharing.
I think we should include in this study monitoring the bird traffic in that neighborhood.
The osprey?
Osprey,
And
herons, eagles, owls.
We have to find the missing chick.
We have a missing osprey chick?
There were 3 yesterday. There's 2 today.
Is it in
Moment
the-
of silence.
Is it in the big nest or the little nest?
I don't know.
I'm going to change the subject and start talking
Oh,
about
no.
historic structures that we can maintain here in the Emma Town site. I have up here on the screen a context map to show everybody here and everybody at home who could be watching. The town of Basalt sits right here. Let me change my cursor. So, oops. Town of Basalt sits right here where my hand is circling. This black line is the county line. So we're right pushing up against the north boundary of the county there. This is the Rio Grande Trail, which will soon have a new trail easement, which we just talked about. And I'll go to my next map here to zoom in. Here's the Emma Town site right here. And these are the structures that we're talking about today, and the access that we'll be talking about here shortly. And a little background, this site was actually recognized back in 1988 when they moved the highway access over to this side. They expanded the highway. The state found that these structures were historically significant, so that's why we have that funny little turn right here. Otherwise, it probably would have gone right through this site. So the state protected the structures, and then a little while later, in 2008, Pickens County Open Space and Trails purchased this parcel from a fellow by the name of Owen Minnie. That parcel actually goes all the way across here, and there's the Mather home site sits there, as well as the town site. Here's the house, which we actually have a agricultural lessee in there, Harper, who runs Two Roots Farm across the road. But we've been contemplating what we can do with these structures for a very long time, probably since 2008 when we purchased the site. And, as soon as we purchased it in 2009, we did some general structural fortification so these wouldn't fall down. And then over the next few years, we did some roof work and further stabilization of this structure that we call the powder house back here. But back in 2023, we started working with Health and Human Services for possible programming of these structures to house food security needs. So the site could be used as a food storage site. we can't really do much with buildings. They're historic, and we have to keep the front that faces the highway in as best condition as we can, even though we get a lot of snow spray from that highway, which is why we have that wooden piece that most people see. Some people don't know why we do that, but that's just to protect the front of the building. And partnering with Health and Human Services and some of our other local food security businesses and organizations, we could make good use of this site, and we would have the ability to kind of control the limited access that comes with such a I don't want to say troubling site, but interesting site. The highway is it's complicated, I guess. We're on a hill. People are coming pretty quick. We do have a turn lane coming into this west access and a turn lane going into this, coming out from, if you're traveling from the west for these homeowners here. And we also have a trail coming through here. We went through a big process in 2023, did some further public process to get some cost estimates of what this might look like, what kind of activity we could be seeing out here, and what we're anticipating that could work is limited access in the mornings or evenings when traffic is low to deliver the food and pick up the food, to go to off-site locations for folks to access that food. This would not be a point of sale or a point of pickup. It would just be for storage. But one of the first steps we need to do is do a traffic study and make sure that we're putting the correct constraints on the site and thinking about this properly. So to do that, we have an engineer set up to complete the study. We used them, I think about 4 years ago, to study the site and see what kind of improvements we would need to make on the highway, extending turn lanes, that kind of thing. And we started the conversation with CDOT, thanks to Nick setting up these meetings. And we have our contractor ready to start another traffic study. And in the meantime, Nick submitted a grant to History Colorado to pay for that study. Our end would be a 10% match. The study itself is a little over $9,000. It's $9,760. So our portion would be $976. So we're going to leverage History Colorado to complete this study and keep furthering this desire to program these structures. So really what the real decision here is to accept the grant or not accept the grant, to do this study and continue to work to figure out a program for these buildings.
Greg,
Hi.
your question.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Nick. Thanks for the work, Paul. It's great that they recognize this as a historic building, but they completely, basically ruined the utility of it when they put the road that close to it. And I think that's the thing that's struck me and a lot of others, I think, that it's really difficult because the road is so close, it destroys the facade. We can't even show the facade of the building. So what I'm wondering is, and I think a traffic study has been done, and this is a revision, right?
True.
And so we're going to come back and say, yeah, it's problematic and it's complicated, and the money we're going to have to spend to alter the exits and entrances or do whatever programming is going to hobble our ability to actually use the buildings for anything. At one point, somebody said, well, what would it take just to move those buildings? Somebody said, move them across the road onto two routes and put them in a place where they could actually be accessed and used. And somebody else said, what if you just moved it back? And I was going to ask, what are the three things? Is that a garden, or is it a former foundation or something?
No, this is the septic field.
Oh, that's the leach field, okay.
Yep, so we've done some work.
You've done work on it, but the question is, will this study be comprehensive enough to find out if it's feasible and what the cost comparison would be to move the building, or if you really need a food security hub there, perhaps a new simpler building would be a lot cheaper than trying to make this thing work. It just feels like a white elephant to me. And I'd rather we move the building and make it useful someplace than to keep trying to make this work, because they've basically screwed it up with the proximity of the highway. So that's my feeling. Yes, let's get the grant, but even if it's $10,000, if it was a lot more, I'd probably say no, because I think it's a waste of money until we really try to figure out what the problem is and how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
You mind me? Yeah, sorry about the rant, but.
No, it's okay. I don't disagree with a lot of what you said. I do think we've looked at moving those buildings. I think the historic integrity of the site is where they are is part of it. But I'll get a better answer for you for second reading.
Disagree with that. Tell them I disagree with it. Thank you.
Okay. And to your other point about focusing on a second facility, when we did our 2023 study with New Venture Consultants, it was right around the time when Lift Up was looking at the facility in Glenwood. And so I think instead of putting their backing behind improving this site, they went for that site in Glenwood, which was probably the right move to serve the people. But in the meantime, we haven't seen any relenting of food security issues. And so talking with Sam and Nick, we do think this site is probably going to be a good and usable site in the future, but it will cost.
The site or the neighborhood?
The site,
general,
the storage.
This particular site?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have trouble with that.
I think we've seen some of those food security organizations stop service to our area, and we're hoping, I think Health, or I think it's a new term, Human Services, is hopeful that if we can get some more infrastructure in here, we'll be able to continue service better in our area. But it's going to cost probably a lot of money.
You know, it's my memory, if I remember my memory right, when we were looking at this building in years past, it was for more increased activity than just storage. It was like a community marketplace. It was a gathering, yeah, et cetera, et cetera.
Brewery.
So I think we will find good information from this with a lesser degree of use. I love Greg's passion for moving things around the county. I don't think I can support moving that building across the street. The cost of that and the degradation to the historic nature of where that building is, and it's on the site where it was meant to be. So I think we should move forward, see what the traffic study says, and then we can see how many bricks Greg wants to move across Highway 82 to the other side. Yeah. Well, but then we've got to move that historic building behind it, and then it's pretty tight, constrained site. So I think, you know, it's a small amount of money, $900 and something for the county to pitch in to match. I wish all of our grants came with that kind of price tag.
Yeah. And to be clear, the traffic study will really just show kind of what limitations we have on access. So, you know, a brewery, I think that was thrown out earlier, or like a restaurant or an art museum. Some of those things, it might not be appropriate given our traffic study, and it'll just help make our decision making
Thank you.
better.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yes, go ahead, Eric.
And the previous traffic study expired with CDOT.
Thank you.
For CDOT to work with us, they need a traffic study that's within 3 years. So the readings are going to come up the same, that they're not going to allow 10 cars an hour in there. So it's just to kind of open up this little bike path part to get to the buildings, and CDOT's in full support of that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, let me just,
I'd like to make a
Francie, do you have any?
I agree with Greg, and I think that saving the building is more important than saving its location right next to a rip-roaring highway that throws grit and smell on it. And so I don't necessarily think we need to move it across the highway, but it'd be interesting to know if we could move it deeper into the property, or make it more useful that way and actually protect it. So I don't know, I'd like to kind of look at that. I'm not saying we shouldn't get the grant and do a traffic study, I think we should, but it would be nice to see, well, what would it cost to move it? There's a house mover in the valley who does amazing things. They moved the whole glass greenhouse from Planet Earth that had like hundreds of panes of glass and only one little pane broke. I mean, they're amazing. So I don't know if this is at all possible or whether it is a deconstruct and reconstruct, but it would be interesting to look at it.
I'll try and get information by second reading.
I don't think there's a floor in the building, it's dirt.
Most of it's dirt. There's some concrete supports in the ground, but if you go in the buildings, it's not much but a shell.
You kind of think one truck accident down there, and you get a truck in the center of the building. It's a vulnerable place. I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time in that building. So I figure we could knock it down and rebuild it, or just knock it down.
I don't think that's an option at this point, but I get your point.
That is for a different discussion on a larger project scope than what we're being asked for today.
Thank you.
So we're being requested to accept this grant and match it with the $976 of open space funding that is available. Is there a motion to move this to
started to do a
second
motion
reading?
to approve a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a grant agreement with the State Historical Fund for Historic Emma Town Site Traffic Study.
Thanks, Patty. I'll second.
She didn't give us a chance
I
to
didn't, no.
argue.
We can certainly contemplate those, but even if you move the building back, you still have to have a traffic study for what will
Right, sure.
happen on
Whatever
the
you
back.
do, yeah.
Especially
We
if
need
you're
the
moving
traffic
it brick
study.
by
Backed up building. So, all right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, I'm gonna ask for just a quick break so I can run and use the restroom, and then we'll reconvene and get started on our discussion of the IGA for the Regional Emergency Communications Center. And if folks need to set up any presentation, now would be a good time. But
I
I'll
thought we already approved
just a 4-minute break, please. right, welcome back, everyone, to the Pickens County Board of County Commissioners regular session on Wednesday, June 11th. We are going to discuss a resolution of the BoCC approving an intergovernmental agreement for the construction of the Basalt and Rural Fire Protection District Station 42 improvement project and Pickens County Regional Emergency Communications Center project. And we've heard a little bit about this, but I think this is how we're organizing our business relationship at this shared building and site.
So I'll kick it off since I was kind of the lead on this initially, and then
you have to red line.
Okay, well, I was trying to wait for Rye to come back in anyway.
Sorry, Rye.
No, you're all good. So yeah, my name is Andrikos, Chief Financial Administrative Officer. We have been working over the past year to build or plan a new dispatch center in conjunction with the Roaring Fork Fire Rescue's Station 42 in Algebel. And part of that whole process is creating an IGA between Pickens County and Roaring Fork Fire. And I'll hand it over to Rye to talk specifics about the IGA as he's been working with the attorneys there. We also have Brett Loeb here, who's the Director of 911 Communications, and GR, who's Construction and Assets Director, who's kind of lead on the construction side of things, if you have any questions about the project.
It might be better to let these guys provide some more detail about the project, and then I can talk about some of the specific aspects of the IGA if you guys want to do that.
I'm not partial to any order of operations.
Yeah, let's do that. I think the project's
All right,
more
tell us
interesting
what we're
than
doing,
the
and then
IGA.
Rye can explain how
Yeah,
we're going to make it
exactly.
work.
So, thanks. I'm GR Fielding, Construction and Asset Director. Right now, our project is in both design and construction phase because of this unique opportunity that we had to partner at the site. We have 100% design development drawings where we're getting our pricing for the second floor of this building. And immediately after that, we'll go into our construction drawings. All of the things like mechanical, electrical, and plumbing coordination is still in progress. I've been extremely impressed with Brett's team and Jeff from Telecom's team in coordinating all of the technological needs for this space and making sure that we have ample services in that. On the construction side, all of the underground wet and dry utilities are all in. Foundation, insulation, and backfill activities are all complete. The elevator's in, or the pit is in. All of the details are already coming back from the shop drawings. And then I think I shared at the budget supplemental stage all the, because of all of the issues that are happening right now with tariffs and things like that, we have all of the aluminum windows and storefronts have been ordered, and pricing is all locked in for those fenestrations. So we're moving. It's been really fun to get involved with this project, and again, big kudos to all of the other team members for their input on putting in all of the work on looking at the construction drawings and that.
Well, I think, what GR explained is great, and operationally and looking at from our perspective, we just want to make sure that we get the agreements in place for when we're able to occupy this, that it's it's our building, it's the county-owned, purpose-built facility that we'll be able to count on being there for the next 50 years, or probably longer. So I think this IGA agreement is really the kind of foundational piece for how the county and Roaring Fork are going to kind of share the costs or administer the costs between the first and second floors of this building. And just as a reminder, the comm center will take up the entire second floor of this portion of their station.
Right.
All the less exciting part. So you have the IGA in your packet, which is an attachment to the resolution approving the IGA. The IGA has a, Exhibit A attached to it, which really talks about the mechanics of how this project is going to initially be constructed and funded, and then contemplates what future adjustments for and between the parties will be for the cost of construction and the value of the land that is currently not owned by the county, but ultimately the unit, the construction project will be divided or condominiumized into 2 units. Unit 1 will be utilized for the fire district and fire authority. This is a 3-way agreement between the fire district, the fire authority, and Pickens County. Unit 1 will be used by the fire district and the fire authority. Unit 2 will be for the services that Brett highlighted there, and will be purpose built for those things. The county will become the owner of Unit 2 ultimately. Once construction is completed and condominiumization is done, the exhibit to the IGA talks about the construction process and cost sharing, which GR talked about a little bit for you all, and continues on to talk about funding, the plan in section 2, the plan for condominiumization in section 3, and finally compensation for land as part of that overall deal. As the project is developed and then ultimately completed, it'll be necessary to enter into further agreements for utilization of the property, including things like how to pay for and maintain common area, shared expenses for the property, all those kind of things that you may see memorialized in a condominium declaration, such as, how those expenses will be split up, what happens for future expenses, all those kind of things will be fleshed out in a separate agreement. So much like some of the other projects where we have partnered with other governmental organizations, whether it be when we worked on this project at the same time the city worked on the police station over here or whatever it is, there will be a future agreement once the structures are actually built about how things will work operationally for shared spaces and things like that. So I'm happy to answer any other questions, or these guys have all the technical expertise on how it's actually going to get built and things like that. But be aware that generally speaking, there will be follow-up agreements on how some of those things will function in the future.
Good. I'm good about it. All in favor?
Anne is called the Assistant County Manager.
I know, that needs to be changed.
I'm not. I've never known you to do that with all of your hats, but
No, that's not.
how relevant the title is I guess my question. Sorry. I was eating. Didn't need everyone to hear me chew. So maybe updating Anne's title would be appropriate between now and second reading. Otherwise, that's all I really caught in this. Makes sense. Do you have any questions or concerns?
I'm sad to see you leave Pickens County.
Oh, no.
And you know what? You might not get cookies as often as you have in the
Oh,
past.
well, that is a trade-off. We might have to reconsider.
So maybe we should change plans.
Yeah.
I always drop, well, I don't always, but on occasion, I drop by cookies. I'll still do
Thank you
it.
for that. Yeah.
I just have to keep driving a little further.
All right. Francie, any questions? And I'm sorry, when we all start commencing construction and
Thank you, Kelly. Construction for the foundation and all of that portion of the building has already begun.
Okay.
And we are in process of getting our contract put together for that second floor.
Okay. Got it. All right. Well, this is a first reading. This will come back to us for second reading. I have to say, I thought this was going to be so much more complicated. Maybe that's the next round.
I think that a lot of work went in between these guys. It was really great working with the team from both the fire authority and the district. Everybody's worked really hard to try and make this as not complicated as possible. Of course, when we start allocating costs in the future, there will be some work associated with that, but given the relationship that's been in place to date, I wouldn't anticipate that being terribly difficult. There's a lot of benefits from this project to everybody, and I think Brett could tell you it's sad to leave Pickens County, but there's some real great benefits to having this purpose-built facility down there.
Great.
An hour a day saved for you.
Sorry?
An hour a day saved.
For a lot of my staff, that's right.
That's got to be worth something.
Yeah. I'm actually going to have a commute because I live in Snowmass.
Oh. It doesn't help you.
Yeah.
The reverse.
I'll
The
give
reverse.
it up for my
Reverse commute's better, though.
That's right.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions on this, we'll set this for second reading with just correction to Ann's title. And I'll just note, it looks like this red line will just be incorporated fully in the second reading. I'll look for a motion to approve.
I'd
those
make a motion
changes.
to approve the reso approving the intergovernmental agreement for the construction of the Basalt and Rural Fire Protection District Station 42 Improvement Project and Pickens County Regional Emergency Communications Center Project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Patty. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks for sitting through all those other items to get this on. Item number 12, an ordinance of the BoCC approving the acceptance of a quitclaim deed from the Rock Creek Association and settlement agreement.
No
Gail,
way.
come on up. Right.
Go ahead.
How long did that take? Well, the story begins in 1874.
Start from the beginning.
Ferdinand Hayden talked his way in here with a small group of surveyors, unarmed, and Chief Uray let him in. Big mistake. They mapped all this stuff. And among the things they mapped was a trail up the Crystal, described later as a hardened trail. The Ute came up from Grand Junction and they got as far as the Roaring Fork, and they didn't want to go through Glenwood Canyon or over Vale Pass, so they went up the Crystal and over Schofield and then
Oh, geez.
Monarch Pass. That was one of their main routes to the east. But in any event, the county road builders came along in the 1880s and followed that route up the Crystal and built a wagon road. And based on the research that we did with this controversy, we determined that wagon road has been in use by the public in Pickens County ever since. But the history became complicated when John Osgood, you were talking about him a little earlier, decided to build redstone and mine coal up Coal Basin, and built a railroad up the same corridor and pushed the wagon road around a little bit, but they coexisted for the duration of the life of the railroad. And then when the railroad was dismantled for scrap during World War II, the wagon road kind of morphed over and used a lot of the railroad grade because it had been built to a little higher standard than the original wagon road, which had been built by picks and mules. But anyway, fast forward to the early 2000s, and Pickens County acquired Faloha Meadows, thankfully, which is the biodiversity capital of our little valley with fireflies and bats and bighorn sheep and all kinds of stuff that we look after there.
Hippies.
Yeah, they're those. And when we adopted our first management plan for Faloha in 2008, we discovered that some of the residents, not all of them, some of the residents that lived between Faloha and Redstone weren't very happy with the idea of folks coming down there. And there was a lawsuit filed then that the county settled favorably and reaffirmed the right for the public to get through the private subdivision. And then in 2015, some of the same individuals were able to talk Mid-Continent Coal into giving them a quitclaim deed for the strip of the old road between the Redstone Campground, Forest Service owned, and the river that gets to their subdivision. And then in 2019, they decided to gate the road, and they sent a message to the Redstone Community Association as well as Pitkin County and said, you can't come through here anymore. So that precipitated lawsuit number 2, which Rye has been diligently pursuing, and we have a settlement before you that the open space staff and the county attorney staff and the open space board have all endorsed. Essentially what it does is there's a category of things we've agreed to do for sure, and that includes building them a turnaround for fire trucks, which they needed all along, and we walked in there with Carl Oliver. I think his name came up a little bit earlier today too, but he said, look, if there's a wildfire in here, we're not going to come down the road at all. We're going to leave it open for people to evacuate. But if there's a structure fire and you want us to take a truck down there, you're going to need to give us a place we can turn it around. So we came up with a pretty simple hammerhead-shaped turnaround that everyone's agreed to, and we've agreed to build that. And secondly, we've agreed to add signage along the way so the public understands for part of this route between the Redstone Bridge and Faloha, they are in public land and they're welcome to go down to the river and that kind of thing. But once they enter the subdivision, they really need to stay on the road. And then lastly, we've agreed to put a garbage can down at the Wilden property, which is where Faloha starts these days with the piece that we bought down at the other side of the subdivision. We've also agreed to study some things and to do improvements at our discretion if we think that they're feasible. We've agreed to study this road to look for places to widen it so there's turnouts so that vehicles that have approached each other from opposite directions or bicycles or whatever there might be have a place to get around one another, and to look for places where we could even separate a trail from the road. Once the improvements and the study is done, then we can move the existing gate. In the meantime, we're going to take down the barricade on the pedestrian walk around on this gate so that after second reading, if you all approve this settlement, we'll be able to reopen this route and allow folks to go on the little walk or the run or the bike ride from Redstone down to Faloha on July 1st. Faloha Meadows opens for the 3 months of the year to go through on the old railroad grade, and people will be able to take their bike as far as Faloha or walk or ride a horse down there. Non-mechanized traversal of Faloha on the old grade is then allowed for those 3 months from July 1st through the end of September. But I'll thank Rye and our consultant, Jim Beckwith, for doing more research on this little corridor than I could have ever imagined we would do. We know everything that was ever filed with the Federal Transportation Commission and all the deeds in and out and which ones reserved access and which ones didn't and all that stuff. So there was a lot of work to go into presenting facts to the council on the Rock Creek Association that apparently persuaded them that settling this case is better than pursuing it any further.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Rye. Patty?
I want to thank Ryan and Dale for accompanying me to a mediation in Basalt, which was started off on a very unusual note. And the gentleman from Grand Junction who officiated, what's the mediator?
Oh, Mr. DeConish.
He was amazing.
Gene DeConish. Yep,
Yeah.
he was our mediator, and he was helpful in getting this resolved for sure.
Yeah, he was great. It was quite an interesting experience. Rye, just so the rest of the board knows, if Rye ever invites you to a mediation, it's not a couple of hours. It's the whole day plus sitting there. It was pretty interesting. I wish we'd had time to spend with the gentleman you just mentioned,
Oh, Jim Beckwith. Well, you may get another
He's the
chance.
road guy, right?
Yeah.
I think he would be amazing to sit down and chat with. Yeah, so I am glad to see this before us. And of note is that it is scheduled for second reading on June the 25th,
Yes.
not May the 28th.
The AIS had a date error with respect to the date of second reading. But what the board does have in front of them now, the action that's in front of you is an ordinance. And the components of the ordinance has 3 exhibits to it that the ordinance is approving. One reason this is in front of you as an ordinance is because as part of the settlement agreement with the Rock Creek Association, the entity has agreed to quitclaim its interest in the property that's the subject of the litigation to the county. So as you all are aware of, when the county takes an interest or acquires property, whether that's by donation or settlement or purchase, the BoCC needs to take an action by ordinance to accept that property interest. So that's a component of what we have going on. I see that Greg has a question, so I'll stop here before I continue on.
Well, our side of the dispute was that we owned the property all along. So do we really have to pass an ordinance to accept a quitclaim deed? Or is that's just how it works?
That was a very perceptive question. The county's claim to a public road through this property was generally limited to the as-built surface of the road, plus some additional area on either side of the as-built surface for the necessary types of maintenance and management that you would typically associate with the road. What the quitclaim deed conveys is a 100-foot strip of property based off the historic center line of the Crystal River Railroad. So that would encompass 50 feet on either side of the road itself is a combination of the old wagon road that Dale was talking about, as well as the railroad platform. By all indications during World War II, and there's evidence of this and pictures, and Dale can further discussion on this point, but when there was metal required for the war effort during World War II, a lot of the decommissioned railroads around the country, but in particular this one up the Crystal, they simply went down the old railroad grade with a train and pulled up the track and pitched the timber off the side and took the metal and took it and machined it into battleships and tanks and all that kind of stuff. So that grade that you see on the other side of the river that crosses at certain points to the the west side of the river where Colorado Highway 133 is, a lot of that infrastructure is the old platform of the railroad grade. So, but so the property interest we're acquiring is larger than just what we claimed in the litigation.
It's
and
still a good question because
it's a great
Beckwith
question.
thinks that maybe what Mid-Continent conveyed to these guys in its quitclaim deed was nothing at all. So out of an excess of caution to make sure we've covered every conceivable theory and put this to rest forever, we're treating it as a conveyance.
Copy that. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, the conveyances and history of the crystal is many. At the time that Dale and one of my predecessors at the time, Chris Selden, engaged in the first litigation, the general understanding was that the property in between what is Redstone Boulevard, which is County Road 3, and the start of the Wild Rose Ranch subdivision, which is the property to the south of Faloha Meadows, was property owned by the United States and managed by the United States Forest Service. That deed that we're talking about now comes out of a chain of title that runs back to Mid-Continent. Whether there is a present interest in that property that can be conveyed is partially why it's being conveyed by quitclaim deed, because when you convey something by quitclaim deed, you convey any interest you may have in the property. As opposed to when you buy your house somewhere, you usually get a warranty deed or special warranty deed, which includes warranties of title that go along with it, where you make a promise that you own the property that you're selling. So that was a great question.
Thank you.
So that was the first component of what this ordinance does. The ordinance also, of course, approves the settlement agreement, as the title implies. And the third component of the agreement is that, or the third component of what the ordinance does, is it accepts an amendment to the trail easement that was granted in 2008 to the county as part of the resolution of the first round of litigation that Dale alluded to. And the purpose of that is to align the management of the trail easement through the Wild Rose Ranch subdivision with the settlement agreement that we have entered into today. And it just makes management of that entire corridor more seamless from Redstone Boulevard to Faloha Meadows. The portion of the road from Redstone Boulevard to Faloha Meadows will be open year-round pursuant to this agreement. And as Dale was pointing out, it's important for the public to understand that even though that portion of the road is open year-round, Faloha Meadows is not, and it's closed at times of the year for wildlife protection purposes and things like that. And that's something that this board is well aware of, but may cause some confusion for members of the public, and that's one of the reasons signage along this route is crucial. We did have, and I want to thank the numerous members of the public that stepped up to provide us affidavits and historical information about public use of this road corridor dating back to the early lifetimes of some of the people that are still with us today into the 1940s and things like that. Those affidavits were crucial in getting this case to the place it is here. And it also provided good backing for the ongoing use of the road and why it's important to maintain it as public access, not just to Faloha Meadows, but use of the road itself being important to folks that live in Redstone and visit the area, whether it's to go for a jog in the morning or ride down the road with kids along the historic road corridor on bicycles, or push a stroller down that corridor. All those things proved to be uses that people didn't want to lose as a consequence of this dispute, and things that are recognized and allowed uses going forward. So
I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, anyone have further questions?
Thank you, guys. This is
Yeah,
huge.
thanks for getting this done.
Big sigh of relief here. We can.
It's a long time coming.
Yeah.
Get that
Here
off
we
the
are.
plate. Yeah.
So,
I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance, approve the acceptance of a quitclaim deed from the Rock Creek Association and settlement agreement.
Thank you, Greg. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Patty. Any further discussion? We will hear this at public hearing again on June 25th. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, guys.
thank you. Thanks, Dale.
Great.
Thanks for hanging in
It's been
there.
a pleasure.
Now, if you could figure out where all that railroad track went, I'd love a history of that.
Yeah, with ships.
Pacific Theater, European Theater.
Yeah.
All right.
See you later.
I'm going to move us on to item number 13
we're
and
home stretch.
call a meeting of the BoCC sitting as the Aspen Ambulance District. Is that correct? Is that right? Aspen Ambulance District? Okay.
That is
Like-
correct.
All right. Since we are the board of directors for that jurisdiction as well, and we will hear a resolution of the Aspen Ambulance District acting by and through the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County approving an intergovernmental agreement between the Aspen Ambulance District and the Aspen Valley Hospital District. And
Thanks, Kelly.
Oh, and here is Mr. Dave Russler from Aspen Valley Hospital.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Let's see if we can turn Dave up a little bit. All right, try it again.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better. Yep, that's fine. Okay, Rye, kick us off. Tell us what we're doing.
And I'm glad that Dave's here because I'm bringing this item to you, but I do not have the most knowledge of it with respect to the people that are involved. I drafted the AIS and the resolution to be as clear and provide as much explanation as possible with respect to the intent of this amendment to the IGA. Both the resolution and the memo in front of you that I put together has some history about how we got here with respect to the formation of the ambulance district in 1982 and our history with entering into an IGA with the Aspen Valley Hospital District, I believe, in 2008. And this particular amendment was brought to me last week by counsel for the hospital district, although they had reached out to me previously to help get this done. I moved it forward rather quickly because it does have important budgetary and impacts with respect to our IGA with the hospital, as well as the ability to get some dollars back from, I believe, the federal government. But Dave can probably flesh out what the potential dollars look like and what this means. But suffice it to say that I think, and I recommend that the BoCC approve this amendment to the IGA because it benefits the hospital and it benefits the ambulance district and it benefits the citizens of Pickens County where the ambulance district serves. Dave, if you want to provide anything else or if the board has any questions for me before I turn this over to Dave, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Okay, thank you. Dave, would you like to go ahead and describe what we're accomplishing with this amendment as well?
Sure, and thank you for having me. Rye, I think you did an excellent job summarizing the purpose of what we're trying to do and offering some history. I've met with this BoCC on a number of occasions over the years. I do want to apologize. Gabe Muthing had some personal business to attend to today and wanted me to express his apologies for not being here. But this is really more of a billing conversation. And as Rye explained, the opportunity for us is to be able to collect more revenue from Medicare for Medicare patients that are transferred to the hospital through the 911 system. And the way to do that is by having the hospital bill. Now we, as part of our service and our IGA, as we have since 1980s, we actually bill and collect for the services, as I think you know. But we've been billing and collecting under a tax ID number that is associated with the Aspen Ambulance District as opposed to our own. So the bills come out of our same shop, but the tax ID number that we identify on those bills is the Aspen Ambulance currently. And so we, as a consequence, have been collecting 20 plus cents on a dollar for what we provide, because that's what Medicare pays. Well, some recent regulations have changed such that they allow a critical access hospital, which is what we are, designated by Medicare to be, to include ambulance services as essentially like a department of the hospital, if you will. And as you guys will recall, I believe a critical access hospital is a small rural hospital that's paid 99% of our costs by Medicare. Most hospitals are paid a much smaller portion of that on a fixed reimbursement basis. So essentially, we could go from receiving 20 or so percent or cents on a dollar of what we bill to being able to collect 99% of the costs of providing those ambulance services. So that's what we're recommending, is that, as Rye explained, the current IGA is silent on what tax ID number is used, but this would clarify that we would be billing under the hospital's tax ID number instead. So hopefully that helps further elaborate a little bit on what Rye did a really good job of explaining. But to his point, this has community benefit because we bring more dollars in that we're able to then reinvest back into our ambulance services and continue to provide a very high quality service.
Do we know that this is endorsed by the ambulance district as well? Is there any negative to them?
You are acting as
Yes,
the
I know,
board
but-
of the ambulance district, and so that would be really, your operator is us by contract, and so yeah, I think all parties are essentially here today.
We're looking at
Well,
Rye.
no, I think that
Do you see how my question's a little funky?
it is a little.
Do we
funky.
approve
I
it?
don't.
Well, I know we approve it, but what is like the staff of the ambulance district? Like, is there, I mean, I guess we've designated all of this role to the hospital anyway, so there's no functional staff to ask if there's a negative of.
I don't think
but-
there's a impact operationally, other than because budgeting and expenses will receive this additional inflow of funds and be, as Dave mentioned, I think they're getting 20 cents on the dollar for providing these services now. This is going to substantially increase that. It'll make the available dollars for other, whether it's operations and potentially our capital obligations under the IGA, go further. So I think day-to-day operationally, this should not have an impact on staff when, other than having more resources available over time.
Mhm. Okay.
I think it's a net, put another way, I think it's a benefit for both the hospital and the ambulance district, you all sitting as the governing board of the ambulance district. And as I already said, I think it provides a larger implicit benefit to the citizens of Pickens County as well.
Mhm.
I would would
Yeah.
just add that the other main revenue source is property tax. So by bringing in more from Medicare, then there would be less need to, have a higher mill levy on property tax.
Can I,
Patty?
and then at the end of the year, isn't there a rectifying the loss for the
Reconciliation, where we have
reconciliation?
to-
Yeah, where
yeah.
sometimes we have to. So if we can bring in more dollars through the hospital, I think that's another win for us at the end of the day. And we've been looking at ways to enhance our equipment in the ambulance district, our training and training not just to the employees of the ambulance district, but to the community as far as first aid, CPR, all of that. So I think this is great, actually, to think that we have found this other allowable and responsible source of funding.
Anything
Well,
else?
The last thing I have is I just want to thank Jeanette and Sam, because this was something I threw together last second on Friday and then had to get it together on Monday to get this in your packet today. And they helped republish the agenda and set this meeting for the ambulance district all in time and in compliance with the noticing requirements to do that. So I just want to recognize their effort in getting this in front of you quickly, and that ultimately will translate to dollars recuperated through this opportunity because it was done more quickly with their help.
Great.
Thanks to them.
All right, this is a first reading. We'll hear it again on the 25th. Is there a motion to approve?
I would love to make a motion to approve a resolution of the Aspen Ambulance District, acting by and through the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County, approving an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the Aspen Ambulance District and the Aspen Valley Hospital District, now known as Aspen Valley Health, for ambulance services. And thank you, Mr. Ressler. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, Patty, for
I'll
a
second that.
motion, and Greg for a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, Dave. Nice to see you.
Thank you all, and thank you, Ryan, for bringing this forward so quickly. I appreciate all your support.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Have a good summer.
Thank you, you too.
May I have a motion to adjourn the Aspen Ambulance District
So moved.
Board? Thank you, Patty. Greg, would you like to second?
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Did you see what I just sent you?
Okay, here we are on our last item of the day, a
let's see.
public
This is
hearing and
about North
second
Star.
reading
Oh, I did see that.
of a
So it wasn't
resolution
full.
authorizing the chair to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Colorado enabling the geothermal energy tax credit for the AABC Thermal Energy Network Design Study. Lots of IGAs today.
Now talk
All
about
right.
patience.
Well, thank you again to the board. I'm Jared Fielding, the Construction and Asset Director. I didn't come here to outdo all of the history that the board has heard today, but I'm just going to back us up about 95 million years ago when the Manco Shale was deposited. And then to about 26,000 years ago when we had glaciers filling up the valley.
And you're going to be in hot water by the time we're done with this.
Fair enough. Last agenda item, so I'll be brief. Before you is a IGA with the state of Colorado. They're offering us a tax credit, which is a new thing that we have been seeing in a lot of the renewable energy space recently. Up until recently, we did not file taxes as a government, but with the opportunities with various tax credits, there's been a change so that we can apply for those. This tax credit looks like a grant, it smells like a grant, but it's a tax credit. And we are working with the Colorado Energy's office for our thermal energy network and geothermal project right now. Today I did bring in a little bit of show and tell because right now we are actually drilling for this project. And so this tube has 146 feet represented here in all of that glacial moraine that is deposited in the valley floor. And then this last couple inches is the Manco Shale that we are drilling into. The funny thing is it takes about 2.5 days to drill this first 140-ish feet. And then the bottom 436 feet happens in a matter of hours because you're into that shale and it drills way, way faster.
Can we see that? Can you
Yeah.
please?
While you're looking at that, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I would like some more explanation of the tax credit. How does the tax credit get turned into money to pay the people doing the work?
It's a great question. Francie, up front, the county has a grant for this project and has a match. So the county pays the bills and we get reimbursed. The tax credit versus the grant, the reimbursements will happen at slightly different times. But and so we front that money on a lot of these state grants that we get.
But
So
we don't
Francie,
have taxes, so how are we going to use a tax credit?
because a credit is like cash given to you. It's not a deduction from the tax that you owe.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh,
That's all
yeah,
I need.
thank you. Kelly, good job. Yeah, the
So we
difference
don't owe
between the
any
deduction
tax,
and
so
the
it's
credit.
just, it's like a payment to us for what we've
Okay,
done.
I got it. Thank you.
I only know that for about a week a year after I file my taxes.
Pretty cool.
So this money will go towards the final feasibility and the thermal conductivity that we are conducting right now in the field. So as the board has traveled up and down Valley in the last month or so, you may have seen some of the drill rigs out there. So we completed at around first reading the hole in the long-term lot or the elk lot at the Aspen Airport. And then this is a second hole is just finished getting drilled as I was sitting in here. And so we are looking forward to taking all of that data and now being able to finish up that feasibility study.
Is that the actual diameter of the drill?
No.
Okay, so this is just a sampling.
So every 10 feet as we drill, we take a sample. That sample gets logged. It's logged about what time that sample comes out. A lot of that data that we get is to tell our future contractor, if we were to build a geothermal well field, how hard it is to drill. Right. And it's very hard to drill in that first 150 feet.
I'm anticipating there's a lot bigger diameter rock in there than that gravel that you're showing us.
When you look at this, anything that looks like crushed gravel is crushed gravel because it was the drill bit going through a boulder.
Got it. So yeah.
We got rejected. We were only doing 2 test holes. We did get rejected in 2 holes, one at, I think, 80 feet and then the other at 30 feet.
In other words, just like hitting something that wasn't...
Right. It was very hard. And so we actually, we approved a modest change order with the contractor to get a new type of drilling bit that would work better in the boulders. Just because that data is going to be worth well more than what that modest change order is if and when we were to ever build something like that in this area.
So I can imagine a cross-section of that area beneath you would be really fascinating to see just what diameter the boulders are.
Well, the diameter of the boulders you can see every time you drive through this neighborhood. So anytime you're near the AABC or the airport, you look on the side of the berm at the airport, there's gigantic boulders. When we built the underpass in between the airport and the AABC, it looked like a Volkswagen dealership from the 70s because we had your Vanagon-sized boulders, we had your Beetle-sized boulders.
Square back.
Granite rocks.
Patty, you have a question?
I have a question. What's the difference, or is there such a thing as hydrothermal and geothermal? Is it the same?
Well, hydrothermal would say that you are storing thermal energy in some sort of liquid medium. And so sometimes you have a thermal energy network that might have a tank. And that tank would be heated up to a certain, with heat pumps. You would heat that liquid. It would store that liquid at a certain temperature. Versus the geothermal where you're drilling into the ground and you're warming up the ground, as opposed to some tank full of something.
So if you were to be utilizing the heat from a hot springs, would that be considered hydro or geo?
Well, the heat source there is a different type of geothermal. But that is like a direct harvest of heat from the earth. Whereas what we'll look at is both, honestly, but more so into we will pull the heat out of a building or a place and pump it into the ground. That ground heat will rise slightly. It's like building like a little bit of a leaky bucket. Whereas the hot springs, you're literally heating like a glycol or water and pumping that and harvesting that heat out to heat a space.
I asked that because when I was little, my parents invested money in geothermal out of the Mammoth Lakes area and did really well, and that was before anybody had ever heard about it. They thought it was just my mom and dad were going to soak in hot water, you know. So it was interesting to...
But what we're studying is the storage of heat underground,
Right.
not the production of heat.
Well, you know, I think that we might opine on that in our final feasibility study as well. There are a lot of people that are looking at that sort of technology that is at a much, much greater depth. And on Friday of last week, we participated and presented our project at a small geothermal conference down in Glenwood Springs. And one, I will say that there's a lot of interest to see what we'll find up here and what we'll be able to do, particularly as it associates with the airport and the AABC area, our public works facility, and all of those things. And there is a lot of excitement about, you know, trying to find hybrid type of systems that do both, where you could drill one hole that is, you know, tens of thousands of feet deep to get to something hot, versus what they were doing just a few years ago. Is much more feasible now to do something like that.
Because I know we have a property at the preserve up by North Star that has geothermal, and they heat their swimming pool. It's my understanding, this has happened many years ago, heat their swimming pool and maybe their snow melt for their decks with geothermal, coming from the heat from their home, pumped through a certain depth in their backyard, and then kind of repurposes the heat exhaust from the house into the soil. Yeah.
And I think it'll be very exciting for us as we look at our quiver available to us in decarbonizing in the future. So as the board knows, we are looking at air source heat pumps and looking to execute on that on Health and Human Services and the library. We have spots like the library that are extremely limited in their footprint. Their footprint is on the property boundaries and beyond with easements. So solutions like this don't work there. Areas where they can work, we need the space to be able to drill bore fields, things like that. And so having all of those tools to be able to use in the future for that decarbonization will be really important.
And I think right now it's being favored, I use that word lightly, at the federal level as one of the renewable types of energy that's being supported with continuation of grants. That's my understanding.
Francie.
You did it even she's not in the room.
That's 2 days in a row.
I know. I'm a little tired, I'm not going to lie.
GR, what is the indicator that this can be a successful project? What are you actually looking for as you drill?
Two things. One is exactly this: what's there, how hard it's going to be, and then what they completed. I think when we were talking about Rock Creek was getting a tube that goes down into this borehole. What they test is the amount of thermal exchange between what they put in that tube and, in all reality, mostly this Mancos shale.
And what about the Manco Shale? Why is that a producer of something that they use for energy?
Yeah, so in that you're increasing the heat that is in that Mancos Shale. You're increasing the energy that's there, and so you're warming it up, right?
By doing what?
During the summer, you will use a heat pump to pull the heat out of a building.
Okay.
Right, so one of the
take it down there.
Right, so you're pulling the heat out. You're not cooling the building. You're pulling the heat out. You're pulling that energy out of the building. You're putting that energy into this pipe and you're pumping it into the ground. Over and over again, you're warming up that substrate within the ground. And then during the winter months, when you need the heat, you pull that back out.
I did not know that was how it worked. Thank you.
Still
What does it do to the surface temperature?
I mean,
I don't know.
we have 2 600-foot boreholes right now.
So
I
it's so
don't,
deep it won't.
I don't think there's any substantive difference to the surface temperature of the ground there.
One last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What would be the process if we were to utilize the site where you're drilling, just finished drilling today, with impacts to scenic, the west of Aspen, the Wamp, et cetera?
So, answer your question in a few different ways, Patty. One, with the test hole, I think our area of disturbance is about 7.5 inches
I'm not
across.
worried about that.
If in the future we were to identify that as an area that we would like to utilize either for the airport or thermal energy network or any other use, there would probably need to have a conversation about the Western Maroon Plan and what's delineated for that area. And it would go through a similar process than what we went through for the battery energy storage system.
I'm sorry, I have one more. Is this an opportunity, possibility for use of airport revenues off-site that we could utilize if we get the federal aviation, the law changed to allow that?
I'm not the staff member that's going to opine on anything legal.
As you're looking at the county attorney.
If it was directly serving the airport, then I don't necessarily thinking it would technically be used off-site because be serving the existing structures on-site. But to your point, I could see perhaps there could be some way to construe that infrastructure as being constructed off-site, and therefore you're diverting revenues from the airport to do that. So the answer is yes and yes, I think.
You're
One
right.
is if it gets changed, then yes, you could clearly do that. And two, even if the law doesn't get changed, I think there is a possibility that you could still engage in this activity if it was serving the capital infrastructure.
You
on
have to
the
show a
airport field.
significant nexus between point A and point B.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Gearing up for my meeting tomorrow.
Fair enough.
You're like, I need more examples.
I know, and I just got one.
And I appreciate the opportunity to work on all of these things. I am by no means a subject matter expert in this stuff. I
getting
am
pretty
very much a
good.
generalist now, but it's always fascinating to learn something new. Our drill crew are all 3 of them have engineering degrees. 2 of them I believe, are from the School of Mines. They originated in petroleum engineering and made a pivot in their career to do this, and they're busy full time drilling.
Cool.
It's pretty fascinating.
Pretty fun when you pull up those core samples.
Francie, you still have a hand up? Do you have other questions?
No, thank you very much.
All
Good
right,
job,
this is a
Chair.
public hearing, so let's go ahead and hear from any members of the public about accepting this tax credit. Or actually entering into an IGA with the state so we can enable this tax credit.
And I believe you already probably have that in your inbox.
Oh, do I? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and I'll look for a motion, please.
I will make a motion to approve a resolution, the Board of County Commissioners, to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the BoCC of Pickens County, State of Colorado, enabling the geothermal energy tax credit offering for the AABC Thermal Energy Network Design Study. You always have really short titles.
Thank you,
out there.
Greg. Any further
It's a
discussion?
very specific thing.
Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thanks, Jar.
All right. I'm guessing we have some open discussion since our lovely county clerk is here. Come on up, Ingrid.
As usual, I will try to be very quick. I'm here to inform you about a change to our recording fees. So the state legislature passed a bill changing the fees from $13 for the first page, $5 for each additional page, to a flat $43 per document fee. Won't change anything with doc fees, that kind of things. But that will happen on July 1st. and it will entail closing off our recordings at 2:30 on Monday, the 30th of June. So, which really isn't for us, it's for the big counties and the recording vendors and our recording vendors to get everything set to switch over at midnight. But, so I just wanted to let you all know. So if you have any
Ingrid,
questions.
do you expect any revenue reduction? It seems like 6 pages. Is that your average size?
So the studies they did with the association said that they thought we were all going to make a little more money. I've been skeptical from the beginning because we have lots of writers on our deeds of trusts and sometimes lots of pages on our plats and things like that. So jury's out. It's kind of like this will benefit lenders and title companies, but a person coming in to file a one-page document is now going to pay $43 instead of $13. So, in all honesty, I was never in favor of it, but it's happened and we are going to.
So it's helping the
you
big
for that
guys
insight.
and hurting the little guys.
Yeah, so. But at any rate, I just wanted, so that's happening.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you for that public service announcement. And you all are doing well in the clerk's office?
Yes.
Otherwise, good.
Yes.
Okay.
All going well.
All right. Thanks, Ingrid.
Thanks.
Is there any other open discussion items from staff, attorney, board?
Can't think of
I have one major thing. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Grassroots.